Good morning and welcome to Breakfast Extra for a Sunday edition. My name is Mazino Appeal, and this morning I'd like us to talk about something very interesting. Let's talk about poverty. Poverty in Nigeria, not poverty as a campaign word, but poverty as a line in the 2026 budget. So I'm going to be less performatory today because this is real serious stuff. See, I'm not sure if people are aware, but Nigeria plans to spend about 58 trillion naira this year, 2026. Now that money will go to everything: security, roads, government itself. Now the amount set aside specifically to reduce poverty, that's of big concern, because for 2026, it's about 206 billion naira. Now, it sounds like a lot, but when you do the math, what you get is this. Out of every 100 naira, the government plans to spend, poverty gets about 35 kobo. I didn't say naira, 35 kobo. Now that alone tells a story. We're a country where more than half the population is poor, yet poverty reduction does not even get 1% of national spending. Now, before we go further, let me explain something very simple, or something in simple terms. When government people talk about cash transfer and social protection, they're actually talking about tools that are supposed to protect every single Nigerian from poverty. They're talking about, the small things that stop people from falling completely. Cash transfers mean direct money, that's actual cash sent to poor households so that they can buy food, pay transport, or survive hard months. And social protection, well, that means the safety nets that, small government helps, just to say you're not abandoned. That is what those big words really mean. Now, here's the problem. When you add up all of that in Nigeria, all the cash transfers, all the safety nets, all the help meant to catch people before they crash, it comes up to about 0.14% of our GDP. That's 0.14. The global average is 1.5%. Sub-Saharan Africa averages 1.1%. So even among countries facing similar struggles, Nigeria is still doing far less at 0 point. So wait, let's start again, because I think I'm confusing people there. I need to make it very clear. Imagine Nigeria is a very large family of 200 million people in one house. The family earns 100 naira, and at the end of the month, the parents share the money. They spend 99 naira, 65 kobo on other things like power, security, a new dress for the second wife. Then they turn to the children who are hungry, unemployed, sick, and struggling and say, manage this 35 kobo. That 35 kobo is meant to buy food, it's meant to pay school fees, it's meant to cover hospital bills, create jobs, protect dignity. So for the poor person, when you really look at it, using that family as an example, the meaning is simple. When food prices rise, well, you're on your own. When transport costs increases, you have to absorb it or trek. When sickness comes, well, there's no cushion. When work disappears, you go under, you fall. And you keep falling, for the poor at least, but for the rich it's very different. You see, because for them they've got assets, they are buffers, they are options. So the system actually bends gently for the rich and breaks brutally for the poor, and this is very sad. So it's not because Nigeria does not understand poverty, we actually do. Over half of the population is poor. It's because Nigeria has chosen or decided what matters more, and it is not the vulnerable in society, unfortunately. So the big question is, where does this leave us? Mostly Nigerians like to hope. But it's unfortunate because this is not just despair, it pushes us into responsibility, yours and mine. And also for the lawmakers out there, because this is something they ought to know. If poverty is this big, then your response cannot be this small. So what we need to do as we talk about budget reform is go back to that budget roundtable or drawing table, reorder the priorities, and one of those priorities has to be poverty alleviation. Because the people you represent, well, we are already paying the price, and it's not easy on our pockets. Maybe we can do better. On that note, I'd like to say welcome to Breakfast Extra. My name is Mazino Appeal, and of course, for a Sunday morning, not doing it alone because we have Inem Masso in the studio. Inem, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. By the way, you don't look like some of the poor in Nigeria. You look like the other half.
Amen.
In any case, we've got a very interesting show packed up for our viewers, so let me come over and we start our conversations, why don't I?
Alrighty.
Indeed.
Again, a very warm welcome to this Sunday's episode of Breakfast Extra, where the stories wake you up before your coffee does. I've had mine already, Mazino. And yes, it's the first day of February. In Nigeria, they tend to say Happy New Month. So Happy New Month to you, Mazino, and our viewers this morning. Now, it's a new month, and that means a fresh start. And as always, a fresh serving of news, insight, and a little bit of fun. Today, we begin in Borno, where hope is taking root once again as 300 refugees return home after years away fleeing conflict. Our reporter was on the ground to witness the long-awaited return. And then from there, we step into the digital world of virality and global frame with IShowSpeed's Africa tour, where viral exposure meets structural challenges. And of course, the highs and lows of internet stardom unfold, especially here in Nigeria. Politics calls next as we look ahead to the 2027 elections and ask a pressing question. How do we close the gender gap in Nigerian politics? And then on Focus Africa, tensions rise as Israel explores South Africa's envoy, or expels them rather, over controversial social media posts, a story that brings geopolitics, diplomacy, and the power of words sharply into focus. And then, of course, back home, we hear directly from citizens speaking out about daily struggles, about police harassment in Nigeria, and of course, as young people challenge profiling, extortion, and the demand for accountability. And of course, finally, on Weekend Warrior, we celebrate a legend, Fela Anikulapo-Kuti, the first African to receive a post-mortem or posthumous Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. So stay with us and let's take you through a Sunday morning packed with stories that inform.
Absolutely. Congratulations. That's an A for Anikulapo-Kuti.
That's a big name.
That's not.
That's a big name.
Yeah. One of the topics for today, by the way, the one about the South African envoys being expelled. That's your thing, but yeah.
It is.
I will be walking out of the studio when
no,
you get
do not do that.
I joke. But preliminary, how does that make you feel? What's your take on that story?
So I mean, for me, because Mazino, I think I've said it to you before, I do come from a background of diplomacy. Mm-hmm. So debate as well, I think, is something that I really, really enjoy. Mm-hmm. I'm indifferent about it. I'm actually quite indifferent about it because I think we have to go back before we come to where we are right now, from South Africa taking Israel to court and all of that. I think it's not a diplomatic move. There's a bit of pettiness for me in what has been done. But I mean, like you said, we are going to get to the story and we're going to have...
The world is a petty place now. I mean, nobody's being diplomatic anymore.
But it's getting pettier.
It used to be about speeches and, courtesy. But right now it's about name-calling and bullying. It's like, I don't know, I don't care.
You know what? I feel like as the greats transition, like the Fela Kutis, it's like etiquette as well leaves, because you look at these things and when we talk about etiquette, you think of Queen Elizabeth. She's not here. When you look at diplomacy and how to address African challenges, you look at the likes of like Nelson Mandela, and they're not here. So it's like you're looking for new people that need to still call us into order, and we don't have them. Do
you think that order is actually missing in our new African
yes.
The leaders that we have
Definitely.
in Africa right now?
Definitely.
Do you think Ramaphosa is less put together than Mandela?
I think so. Ooh. And I think this comes from a background kind of thing. Okay. Ramaphosa doesn't necessarily come from a background of what we call freedom fighting. Okay. He didn't, and I mean that's something we can say candidly. So I think the background and Imbogoto, which is like that rock or the spear, they carry a different scepter, or a sepuka, as Ibrahim Traore calls it. So
you lost me at Umbokoto.
We'll get back to it. Yeah. We'll get back to it.
Sounds like Mkomboti, but that's a totally different one.
Mas, what do you know about Mkomboti? That's that. We'll talk about that in the break. I didn't know you know Mkomboti, but okay.
She didn't want to click. Let's take a break. When we come back, we do the dailies. Do stay with us. Welcome back for the dailies. I'm still reeling off of that last South African word there, but if you're just joining us now, then you missed it. You can catch it on YouTube. It's just a very tiny little moment. Let's do the dailies. This morning we're starting with the Punch newspaper for starters. Let's go to the front page of the Punch, if you will come with me. We've got these headlines here already. Punch newspaper. First big headline, front and center, ex-Governor Silva may be arraigned in absentia. EFCC waits trial months after declaring Silva wanted. Interpol intensifies hunt for ex-minister. Where is Waldo? This is on his fraud and conspiracy case, by the way. At the top, Makoko demolition victims share tales of death's sorrows. I lost my only child 4 days after birth. Oh, says a woman. And tear gas choked my 65-year-old mom to death, says son. All right, so we don't know the extent of these things until you're actually met with the people who are absolutely affected rather. 2027, still on the Punch front page, Obi ticket doubts stall Kwankoso's move to the ADC. And 3,500 farmers to quit rice cultivation over 93 billion naira losses. Federal might will fail in 2027, Oyo PDP chairman Ogungbero say, and how Nigerians fall victim to transnational remote job scams, and why my father hid 300 Christians from killer herdsman, son of late heroic imam. We had a weekend warrior last week, and it was dedicated to him. And tensions as traders Soludo tango on Monday. I think we get to talk about this one. Well, did we talk? No, we talked about this yesterday on the show regarding the sit-at-home issue in the southeast and how the governor Soludo is trying to make it go away. But that's it for the Punch Sunday front page. What do we have next, Inam?
I think next we
have the Tribune, if I'm not mistaken.
All right.
Tribune newspaper this morning. Big headline there.
So the Tribune, of course, in bold and white over there, it says, defecting govs or governors remain leaders in their states, Tinubu clarifies. And then, of course, right under there, it says, as Shetima, Yilwada, and others welcome Taraba governor to party. At the bottom right, we've got Middle Belt ethnic nationality groups tackle a Sarah or Sharai Council and tells Tinubu not to treat issues lightly. And then right underneath there in red, we've got Electoral Act, where it says Senate plotting to delay passage of amendment bill. And that's by the ADC. And down at the bottom, we've got how delay non-passage of Electoral Bill 2025 could harm 2027 elections.
There's one that concerns, that gives me plenty of concern at the top there for the Tribune. Hoodlums invade defection venue in Lagos, attack LP ADC members. LP tussle, Abure keeps mom as Nina D. Usman's camp celebrate INEC's affirmation. Not in Lagos, please, because these kinds of things have a way of becoming, I don't want to say, but there's a very thin line between politics and when tribes get involved.
Right.
And if that happens in Lagos, noting the predominant nature or anatomy of these political groups, the LP and the ADC, it is a keg of gunpowder. Let's just put it that way. Let's do a short break. And when we come back, we'll continue with the headlines because we've still got more. Stay with us. Welcome back. Still the dailies for Breakfast Extra here. Sunday edition is Mazzino and Inem Maso. We have our next front page, and that's the Sunday Vanguard. Let's take a look at the Sunday Vanguard here. Kano, this is total betrayal. Governor Abba Yusuf won't get away with it. Commissioner who led others to quit cabinet in protest vows. I think his son is also involved somewhere there. Godfather, godson, gun draws. Abuja's power games turn Kano Rivers into battlefield. At the very top, Onitsha market closure, over 200 billion naira lost. Soludo traders reach deal. Market reopens tomorrow. Congratulations to Soludo. He's finally gotten the market to open tomorrow for a Monday, which is the one day where traders were expected to sit at home because of the protests, all geared at Nnamdi Kanu's release. But the governor explained something during the week. You're losing IGR. The state is not making any money, and then the FAC allocations are really low. So this means that it's either we do something, you guys have to get back in there, trade so we can get taxes, and so that we can actually have a cushion for ourselves. Congratulations. We wait to see what happens tomorrow if this is going to take effect. But it's been a long time coming. The sit-at-home order has been in place for, many would say, way too long. Now, Shatima asks Bauchi Adamawa governors to join APC as Taraba Keppers defects. And first, Holdco PLC grows gross earnings to 3.4 trillion naira on page 29. There are many other topics to take from here on the Vanguard newspaper, especially at the bottom half, but we'll let that one be as we move on to our next daily. Our next daily would be what now?
I think it should be the Independent.
Grand.
Sunday Independent. I'll start at the top before I get to the headline. It says, how governors are reshaping Nigeria's federal structure. And then right underneath the Independent right there in bold, it says, trouble looms for FG over Osun LG's withheld allocations. And then it says, lawyers fall to FG's role, says it's now constitutional moral crisis. And then, of course, the CSO and Labor, a youth activist, to storm state over illegal occupation. And then right underneath the beautiful picture there, it says, a free metering, how FG discourse and impasses can be resolved. And then right at the bottom there, Mazino, it says, mandatory electronic transmission of results in 2027. The stakeholders fear hitches. And then, of course, as the ADC knocks a Senate over delay in reviewing Electoral Act.
Electronic transmission of results for election has been a thing that has been under discussion for such a long time.
Right.
Now, while it seems like it's going to be grand and yeah, we're all lauding it and all, there are other details to consider. There's whether we have the bandwidth for these kinds of moments, and that's a very big deal, especially noting that during elections, we don't know why, but we always have these problems and restrictions when it comes to the internet. Not saying anything. So that's a concern. Well, we hope that it actually works to the advantage of the society, citizens, Nigeria generally. Well, we'll look forward to 2027. Then that's the only one. That's the one thing that I'll say has happened that's different since Amokuta, the new INEC boss, took office.
Right.
So let's hold on to that and let's hold on to hope. Let's move on now to Sunday Telegraph. If I'm not mistaken, that's our next headline or paper with headlines. Stay at home, shutdown looms in Anambra. Hang on a second. We thought we just took care of this. Police, army, Uguchemba battle IPOB mass-up security agents deployed to flashpoints. So here's the thing. The traders are saying if you want us to go back to the market, you have to protect us. Because it's not them saying they don't want to go to the markets. It's not them saying they have to sit at home. It's these other groups. Don't know what to call it, but these are the groups that are threatening the traders and saying you can't go to the markets. If you do, you will get hurt. So provide the protection. The citizens are telling the governor, and we will actually go to the markets. We'll actually go about our duties, especially on Mondays. At the top, Tinubu returns after Turkey visits, receives Taraba governor in APC pledges development, and Patutomi says, my lecturer once told me my coursemates to drag a lecturer once told my coursemates to drag me to nightclub. Hey, Mr. Otomi, hey, live a little.
That's living a lot. It's not a little, Mazino.
Come on, live a little.
It's definitely not a little.
Ebonyi killings. Winfuru sacks appointees, removes monarch village heads, and Oyo judgment PDP BOT state chairman back. Turaki. And finally, Senate frustrating Electoral Act amendments, says ADC. Let's get this out, shall we? Oh, I forgot the main headline here. Alleged coup plots. Defense intelligence arrests more suspects, they say. Prosecution to be delayed by investigation. Lawyers disagree on military. Civil court trial of accused. Even after court martial, there's room for appeal. All right. So those are the... Those are the dailies for this morning. I'm being told that we're going to be doing the strips immediately after, so I will take my position for the strip, and you can join us. And of course, you're welcome to join me as well. Well, from here, while I get this.
As if like you want me to catwalk all the way there.
Catwalk. Let's do the strips in a minute. That magical moment, yes, I transported myself over. Welcome. It's time for the news strips every single day. Well, every single weekend, we compile some very interesting strips from across the week, and then we present them here. Because, well, like it or not, humor is a way we get in Nigeria here that we tell our stories. And we've got very intelligent, and I say intelligent cartoonists across newspapers, and every Sunday morning, we like to present them first. Let's take our very first strip for today. Oh, by the way, Inam is also joining me on this one, and we'll be talking about them together. Inam, you're welcome. Thank you very much. Alrighty, so Inam, let's talk about our very first strip here for today. ADC Presidential Ticket 2027. Name is still empty along that dash there. We see figures that we might recognize. On one side is a figure that might be representing Atiku Abubakar, former presidential candidate, and of course another former presidential candidate for the LP the last time is Peter Obi on the other side. These two currently are in the same party, or at least a coalition called the ADC. But this is the big problem. We're still waiting on exactly who is going to carry that card for presidential ticket. And that is where everyone is holding their breath on. I don't know how much of the ADC you know about here in Nigeria, but it's a new coalition that's bringing hope back to the people. A true opposition, some are saying, as against what it used to be from before, where you have just two parties that seem to, well, continue this revolving, or you call it, you said something in your monologue yesterday.
Door.
Revolving musical chairs.
Musical chairs and
exactly.
a revolving door.
So we're still waiting. Maybe this week will bring us clarity on the issue. I won't spend too much time on this one. I'm going to move on to our very next strip for this morning. By the way, this is Okpara, and that's from Business Day. Business Day still again. We talked so much about the coup instance from last week. So this one tells its own story. We're just going to gobble up everything that government's saying regarding the coup plotters, the people who have been arrested, and the civilians that have been implicated. For me, that's the biggest part. Who are these civilians? What exactly were their roles? And how will they be treated? Is it going to be a military court or what? Those are the big questions. Still a simple strip. Not so much on this one. We've got so many. I want to get to one very particular one that I think we're going to spend plenty of time. Good. Now, this is Business Day. Yet again, I think it's Okpara if I'm not mistaken. But it's a very interesting strip, this. Because it shows on one side the president depicts an image that might be the president talking to someone who seems to be Sheikh Gumi. I will come to that in a bit. But on this side, we see the president's, oh no, by the way, did you see the unfortunate instance that happened in Turkey upon the president's visit? He actually tripped. Did you see it?
I did.
Inam?
I definitely did. I did.
While people laughed about it, I thought it's not something to laugh about. I think
agree.
we should have a bit more human in us, a bit more compassion. It can happen to anybody. So I do hope that the president was okay on that instance. However, I think that's what's been cartoonized here to make it seem like as if he's bowing down to the Turkish president's Recep Erdogan. But from before, and I said I was going to come back to that, the cartoonist makes it seem like as if the reason why the president actually went to Turkey was to partner when it comes to security. Indeed, Defense Minister Christopher Musa did say that part of the reasons why he was there was to strengthen not just bilateral ties, but also on security, on a security basis. But it wasn't the main thing. So why the cartoonist chose to make it seem like that was the main reason and that he was taking advice from Sheikh Gumi, I do not know. I cannot say. Maybe he's speculating, but there were talks in Turkey, and it wasn't just about bilateral relations, it was also about security. And well, there's so much to unpack from this, quite frankly, and it's a very interesting cartoon. Mm-hmm. To summarize, I'm going to leave it there. There's still so much about it, but let's just leave it there. Let's move on to our next strip for this morning. Inam, and this one I need your opinion on. Let's take a look at 2022 Electoral Act, which is what we're still riding in, as put by the cartoon here. At the top, we've got the elections for 2027 coming in, and that figure right there, if you do not know who it is, that is the new INEC chairman, Joash Amokwita, Dr. Joash Amokwita. And the other figure with the spanner is our Senate President, Godswill Akpabio. And of course, as the National Assembly is trying to reform or engineer the Reform Act for 2027, well, he's telling, don't worry, you're good to go. When I return from recess, I will fix the glitch. And that's APC Boulevard. Of course, you know the party that he belongs to. I don't know what you think about the Nigerian situation when it comes to the reform of our Electoral Act. Inam, do you have anything you want to push in here?
Mazino, I think I need to be a clear throat. I need to be a bit candid about this, but also just watch what I say.
Go ahead.
I think when we speak to the reforms and we speak to the glitches, it's ever so evident, as you can see in the picture right there, that it's not a complete system. It's broken, but for now, it's just move. Let's just ride it out. So we'll fix the glitches along the way, and I think that's just how we've been running for a long time now. Let's ride it out. We know the glitches internally between me and you. Once I come back, whatever glitch is there, I will fix it. But for someone that is not in the car looking at the car in motion, you would think that everything is okay. So it also gives us the mindset to say that they know that there are structural problems internally. But again, if you aren't in the car, you don't necessarily know that there is a glitch. So it also gives us that intel that says sometimes there's a number of things that are internally hidden that we don't necessarily know about, but we're just cruising and
You are right. You are right. And also, the fact is being the finger that is being pointed. One of the fingers that is being pointed here is to the fact that, or what they say, alleged fact that the Senate seems to be delaying these reforms. So they're going on too many recesses, and like, you know, let's just get this thing ready for 2027 already, shall we? Let's move on to our next strip for today. We are loaded with strips, apparently, and our very next strip. Okay, now, this one last week hit me, because I was following this story. I've been following this story since 2014, or is it 2012, if I'm not mistaken. So, Kudirat Abiola's murder, Supreme Court dismisses trial of Major Hamza Al-Mustafa. Now, Al-Mustafa used to be a henchman, in quote, of Sani Abacha. Sani Abacha is, of course, renowned for being one of Nigeria's last dictators, let's put it so. And during the occasion of the June 12 elections, which led to the death of the wife of MKO Abiola, it was pointed that Major Al-Mustafa was directly responsible, that he took that order. And Lagos State had carried this on their shoulders. This was their responsibility in court to make sure that someone, or justice at least, is brought. But only just last week, the case was thrown out. Why? This is because Lagos State, the champion of that case, has done nothing in the past 9 years to try and make that case go forward. So they simply just left it and said, you know what, nobody's bothered about this, and that's it. So many people are saying this isn't the way justice should go. At least they should have put some effort. Now it would seem that that case is one of the many political assassinations in Nigerian history that will have no closure. Congratulations, Lagos State. Congratulations, our justice system in Nigeria. I don't know if there are any cases like that in South African history. Do you have this kind of issues in South Africa where cases go unresolved?
I mean, I can't necessarily recall one specific one that I can say, well, this went unresolved. But if you want to bend the system, of course, there haven't been cases where systems aren't bent. But I think once it gets to a point where the masses are zooming in and following a case, it becomes difficult for you to just let justice, slide. But Mazino, to be fair, we have had instances where everybody's waiting for justice to be served, and it is not served in the slice that we want it to be served.
Not in the slice. Yeah. Only one side buttered. Okay. I think that's as much as we can take. The producers said, oh, they just switched on us, so we have to take this one real quick. Daddy and daughter moment. Love, this is Abulama from Daily Trust. Dad, the government says no more ASU strike. Yeah, that's what they said. That's what they told me when I was in school. Of course, this is coming off of the 56, I think, inauguration. Is it? I can't remember what it was, but for Unilag. However, the president there said through a proxy that they have resolved the ASU instance in Nigeria. We wait to see, because we've heard this a million times. ASU and the federal government have been back and forth when it comes to issues, unresolved issues, payments, salaries, discontinued contracts of staff for as long as I can remember. And since I was in school, and I've been out of school for over 2 decades. It's continuous. So this is me, I guess, and that's my daughter. But that's as much as we can take for the strips. Thank you very much, Inam, for joining me and helping me through most of them. We're going to do a break, and we'll start in earnest with our conversations after that break here for Breakfast Extra. Thank you very much, viewers. We'll be right back.
You're welcome back, and today on the big report, more Nigerians displaced years of insurgency by years of insurgency in Northeast are gradually returning home after spending over a decade in exile. Now in Borno State, 705 Nigerian refugees have been successfully repatriated from the Minawo refugee camp in Cameroon to Banki in Bama local government area. The returnees, representing 85 households, were forced to flee their communities following sustained insurgency attacks. And of course, their return marks another step in ongoing resettlement and reintegration efforts by authorities.
So alongside the repatriation exercise, the Borno state government has commended the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons for providing critical food and non-food assistance to the returnees. Now, the support package includes essential food items and also therapeutic supplies aimed at addressing the immediate need of vulnerable groups, especially women and children. Now, let's show you this package by News Central's Umaru Kirawa on the matter.
Governor of the Far North, Mijiyawa Bakari, is bidding farewell to Nigerian refugees who have stayed here for over 11 years in Cameroon.
No one will be forced to go without his consent. That's the main object. And here we are on behalf of the head of state and the presidential couple to thank those Nigerians who will stay in Cameroon for more than 10 years. And once back in their country, they have to be responsible.
705 returnees, comprising 85 households from Minawo refugee camp, Cameroon, have arrived in Banki, Bama local government area of Borno State. After reception at the Nigerian border, returnees were taken to a facility where food and drinks were provided, and later to UNHCR-supported homes built by the Borno State government. Officials reassured returnees of ongoing government commitment to their welfare and security.
Professor Babagana Umar Zulum has given a return package of 100,000 naira to every head of household, 20,000 naira, a wrapper and mattress to every wife. The Refugee Commission, through the Honorable Federal Commissioner, Honorable Tijani Ahmed Aliu, like those of Pulka, have given them a bag of rice, a bag of beans, a bag of millet, seasoning, cooking oil, and all other essential food items.
We want to thank the government of Borno State for his commitment and resilience towards bringing these people back. If it were not for him, I don't think this exercise would have been fruitful.
We also thank the federal government and the Borno State government for their numerous assistance in facilitating the military stay here.
The return to Banki is part of broader effort to facilitate safe, dignified and voluntary repatriation as stability gradually returns to affected communities. From Banki town for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Report there by Umaru Kirawa for News Central. So to give us insight into this exercise carried out by the Borno State government, we also have Umaru Kirawa joining us here. Umaru, thank you very much for joining us for Breakfast Extra for a Sunday morning once again. You are like you're always available. Thank you is what we're trying to say, Kirawa.
Thank you.
Inham, please.
Omar, again, like Mazino said, thank you. Can you take us through what you witnessed on ground and how, of course, the repatriation exercises were carried out, and what was the atmosphere like as the retainees arrived?
Well, it's a very tough and difficult terrain, but it's a happy moment for the refugees because you will see the smile on their faces despite the pain of the displacement and, of course, the travel from Minawo camp to Nigeria. Is a very difficult terrain, and I mean, they've gone through a lot, and I spoke with them one-on-one. They've told us their experience of how they have been struggling with life over there in Cameroon, though the Cameroonian authorities have been very accommodating to them, and they have supported them with food and non-food items, and including farms. In some instances, we went to the farm in which some of the Nigerian refugees used to engage in farming activities. However, there are always other flips of the stories. The pain of the stay there, the loneliness. Some children are born without even seeing their country home, and the terrain. I mean, the road linking Nigeria and Cameroon, really the authorities really need to work on it. Maybe agree on constructing roads that will link Nigeria to Nigeria to Cameroon through maybe the Banki town and through Kirawa, linking road to Cameroon, so that cross-border business can also flourish, since our people used to engage in cross-border businesses.
Kirawa, I'd like to know, first off, thanks to the Cameroonian authorities, they gave the Nigerians a place to stay for the past 10 years. Can you first describe the geography between where they were coming from in Borno State and the Cameroonian IDP camp they were staying at? How easy was it for you to get there in the first place? And what is it like exactly for a Nigerian living in Cameroon inside of such a refugee camp?
But natural is not easy. It's a very difficult experience. It has not been easy for us. I mean, some of us have to go to their pharmacy and get drugs there because of the difficult terrain. Some of our people have to go to the hospital to get drugs, but by and large, it's long awaited. The people have been clamoring to come back home. I mean, one of the women that I interviewed her, she said when she had people going to Nigeria, she usually asks them that if they can come back, let them come back with the sand of Nigeria so that she will see it, so that she will test it. I mean, that is to show how people love this country, despite the unfortunate happenings that are happening in the country. And it's happy to see them. It's made us emotional. I mean, some of the conditions are unexplainable. Some of the situations that women, children are going through we can't explain it because of the emotional. I mean, it will make you to shed tears in some instance. But thank God that these people are back, and we're expecting more to be repatriated. As the government says, more will be repatriated as long as they are interested in coming back home.
Okay then. Kira, we see the facilities that they will be moving into. I have questions about that, but we want to take a break. When we come back, I'll ask you these questions. Thank you. We'll be back in a minute. And you're welcome back. It's still Breakfast Extra, our very first conversation this morning. Returning refugees to Nigeria from Cameroon in Borno State, we have our new central correspondent, Umaru Kirawa, who's joined us to tell about the story and a report that he put together to welcome these Nigerians back home. Kirawa, just before the break, we saw the facility that the returning refugees, or returning displaced persons rather, would be living in. And I'm wondering, we've seen these before. We've seen IDP camps that are set up and that are provided for by the Nigerian authorities, but eventually they get neglected. People live there for years unattended to, and this becomes a cesspool for even disease or social decadence. And I'm wondering whether this will not be the case in this place as well. We're hoping not, but what do you think? What has been put in place to forestall any such occurrence from happening?
Well, Mazino, it's good to know that these houses are not IDP camps, so to speak. These houses are provided in collaboration with the UNHCR, provided them, and the Borno State government constructed them. And these houses are given to these Nigerian refugees free of charge. It's not as if it's a new IDP camp that they are being repatriated to. It's houses that it's their own, and the government has given them, and they will have to start picking up the pieces of their lives. And they were given money to help start rebuilding back better, engaging maybe in agricultural activities, because most of the people I interfaced with them, their major concern is to engage in agriculture, and some of them engage in rearing of cattle and name them. So it's not an IDP camp, it's a new community, a new beginning, a new thing for them to start afresh in their own home country. And it's not a new town, it's Banki town. It's one of the well-known towns that engage in cross-border trade, and there are people living there. Even Banki town was displaced, but the government has resettled it. And
so Kirawa, thank you for that. Thank you for that clarification. It's not an IDP camp. IDP camp, I beg your pardon. But when it comes to security, you just noted that this town was displaced itself from before. Has anything been done to make sure that the residents of this new town are safe? If they're going to rear cattle, do they have maybe perhaps a military installment anywhere nearby to make sure that the town is kept safe?
Yes, in fact, this is one of the questions that I asked the government authorities, the safety, because it is the primacy of governance. Any government that fails or neglects the security or safety of its citizens, that government should not last a minute longer than absolutely necessary. And that is why I asked that, are they assuring these people that the safety or their security is guaranteed? And the response is, the security and safety is guaranteed, but only God knows what will happen. But since the first repatriation by the Borno state government, none of the communities that have been repatriated has witnessed any form of insecurity attack, any form of dangerous happenings that causes alarm on the side of the people. As such, the safety has been guaranteed based on the statement of the authorities, and of course, the military forces are there. It's a border town, and we have Nigerian army there, we have the multinational joint task force, and other security formations, the civil defense, the police, the civilian JTF, hunters, vigilantes. So we are hopeful that the issue of insecurity will not come to play, and that these people will pick up the pieces of their lives, and issue of displacement and being a refugee will be consigned into the dustbin of history.
Umar, I like the fact that you said only God will know what can happen, but to not stay on that. I think my question is, of course, it probably was an emotional, state, and I'm curious to know what the condition was like for the returning, the arrival of the refugees. But more than that, I think my question is, like Mazino just said, they are being brought back into Nigeria. They aren't being necessarily sent back into a camp, but it's a community that has been, built for them. I'm curious to know, bringing them back and giving them settlement is one thing, but to help them, what are some of the strategies or systems that have been put into play to get them, or kickstart? I know you mentioned that money was given to them, but in kickstarting their lives back in Nigeria, what does that look like? Because you've given me shelter, but how do I sustain myself now that I'm back in Nigeria? Has any plan been put in place for that?
Well, absolutely correct. And if you see the report, you will see that we've highlighted where food items were provided. And in fact, the Borno state government has appreciated support from the National Commission for Migrants and internally displaced, National Commission for Refugee, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons. The High Commissioner has been supportive to the state government, and this time around too, he has provided food items including over 1,000 bags of rice and assorted food items including beans, millet, cooking oil, and other condiments, including building materials. So it's yes, it's difficult for the families to start afresh, but it's something that they have been long awaiting. And with the little or with the support that they have received, we hope that they will build back better. And most importantly, there is financial support too, accompanying the food items, which hopefully they will build back better.
Right. And then on my end, I think the one question that I also do have for you is in terms of documentation, because of course 11 years is a long time. Children were born outside of Nigeria. In terms of documentation, what does the documentation process look like, especially because you want to bring children in, bring them back into school and all of that? Have they been documented? Is the government partnering with, what do you call it in Nigeria, the Home Affairs or the Immigration, to get them properly documented and placed into schools, more especially the children?
Yes, one thing that anybody should say is when something good is done, you appreciate it, and when there are negative or unfortunate scenarios, you have to acknowledge that there are problems. Mm-hmm. The committee of the repatriation has to be commended with regard to the kind of coordination that has been put in place, particularly led by the chairman of the Borno State Subcommittee, mm-hmm. Engineer Lawan Abba-Wakilbe. They were able to coordinate and then work alongside with different agencies, organizations, and non-governmental organizations. First, when these refugees are brought back, some of them that have their national identification registration, some of them that do not have, they are registered. And those children that you see are also registered. They were also, bank accounts were also opened for them. And in fact, that is where the financial support are being sent to them. Mm-hmm. And other registration too were also done. You can see members of the Red Cross and other, the Katai, I mean, name them. So many organizations are there and they are providing services to these people. That shows the commitment and the kind of coordination that was able to be achieved on this repatriation exercise.
Umaru Kirawa, I want to say thank you very much for actually bringing us such a beautiful reporting piece. And it's so much being done by the Borno state government, especially after years of banditry in that region. But seeing them come back to life and help the Nigerian people also, for these people coming back to Nigeria from Cameroon, regain their lives. It's a beautiful effort, and thank you for covering it all the time.
Thank you, Mazino. Even myself, I never thought I will be in Nigeria because I nearly ran. When at the peak of the insurgency, I nearly left this country.
So it's a personal thing. It's a personal thing for you as well. It's not just you reporting. It's actually you actually lived these instances.
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you once again, Umaru Kirawa. The return of these families marks an important step in Borno State's recovery from years of conflict. Our repatriation offers hope and also a sense of closure. After more than a decade of exile, long-term success of this process will depend on sustained support, security, and of course, livelihood opportunities for these returnees. For now, we'll continue to put an eye on what's happening in Borno State, and of course, we'll have Umaru Kirawa to always help us do that. Stay tuned, we've got more conversation. We're about to step into our second hour here for our Sunday morning installment of Breakfast Extra. We'll be back. Good morning once again. My name is Mazino Apil, and this is our first bulletin inside of Breakfast Extra. Our President Bola Tinubu has returned to Abuja from Ankara, the capital of the Republic of Turkey, following a state visit aimed at strengthening diplomatic relations between both countries. The president arrived in Abuja at about 8:55 p.m. on Saturday, bringing to a close engagements focused on deepening Nigeria-Turkey ties and expanding areas of mutual cooperation. During the visit, 9 agreements and memoranda of understanding were signed, covering economic, security, and social sectors. The agreements are part of broader efforts to boost bilateral trade towards a $5 billion target and reinforce collaboration across multiple sectors between Nigeria and Turkey. Ahead of the February 21 area council election in the Federal Capital Territory, residents of Alipi are calling on government for urgent intervention and provision of basic amenities. While lamenting what they describe as years of neglect, some of the residents say the absence of basic infrastructure has continued to define their daily lives. News Central's Idong Joseph visited the community and files in this report.
In Alipi, a rural settlement within the Dobe ward of the Gwagwalada Area Council, residents say years of neglect have left them in their need of basic social amenities such as good roads, schools, electricity, and portable water.
Ba wani aiki har kakanin tun tile-tilen da iyayenmu suna yi gida a tsauni suka tashi suka zo nan ba wani aikin da suka yi mam in ba wannan aikin primary ba in akwai to ni ban gani ba ko ban sani ba.
Our children, they are sick, and before we take them to inside town, so we need to find some okadas that they can take them. But at the we have hospital for here. There's no any stress for us to carry our children to go inside town.
Yanda a ce gwamnati ya mama nan abu a nan garin akwakwara mu tabbata cewa da muna da gwamnati amma gasa ba mu samu abun da yake kamata na ainihin abin da zan samu hannun gwamnatin ba. Muna da matsala sosai a wannan garin nan.
They say that despite participating in several election cycles and receiving repeated campaign promises from politicians, the only visible government intervention is a single block of classrooms accommodating pupils from primary 1 to 4 and 4 solar street lights.
An zo kuma cewa ana so a yi gudunmawa da ainihin wutan sola. An dai kawo muna guda hudu kawai, biyu ma sun mutu, ba sa ba da haske, sauran biyu ne kawai. To ga munan, yanzu kuma muna kokarin zabe.
While almost every form of basic social infrastructure is absent in Alipi, residents say access to clean water remains their most pressing concern, as the only source of supply is a hand pump borehole donated by a missionary group and now inadequate for the community's daily needs.
Gaskiya hannun yake cikakke muna son ruwa, muna son ruwa, muna son ruwa. Ko da sola din ma ya cika nan ma kwa mu gani haske disamtina muna so.
As the FCT Area Council's election draws nearer, residents say they are consciously hopeful, calling on whoever emerges as chairman of the Gwagwalada Area Council to prioritize their most basic needs. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
Attention rose in Lagos on Saturday as violence disrupted a political defection ceremony in Alimosho area. Suspected thugs stormed the venue where Labour Party members were set to decamp to the African Democratic Congress, injuring several people and forcing the event to an abrupt halt. News Central's correspondent Israel Ifirobo was there and he reports.
A gathering meant to be peaceful quickly turned chaotic. The official decamping of the Labour Party Alimosho structure to the African Democratic Congress was interrupted after suspected thugs invaded the area.
Everybody knows quite all right that the formation of ADC as a party is a coalition, you know, an involvement of so many parties coming into a body of a party to form a particular structure. So that's the same thing the Labour Party in Alimosho, the Labour Party structure in Alimosho tries to do today. And it was supposed to be a mega event. But unfortunately, the APC talks came in to disrupt the entire program.
Now we are here. We met migrants, we met thugs here, beating people. You know, it's very unfortunate that we're having this kind of nonsense in this country.
Organizers allege the attackers were affiliated with the All Progressive Congress APC, a claim yet to be independently verified.
We are very sure those thugs that invaded the hall are thugs of the APC, because we heard them saying, oh, how come UADC will be here? This is our territory. This is APC territory. You know, all those kind of things. You don't need to be told.
Police from the Dimu division later arrived to restore order, but the ceremony had already been disrupted.
You can imagine the time the police arrived. After about 1 hour, when the whole exercise has been concluded, when damages has been made already.
We want the APC-led federal government, particularly the president, to caution his people, because Nigeria is made up of political parties. That is what they call democracy. The guys that came here today were chanting that during 2023, this is what made them to fail the election, and they won't wait to see that again. If they are good at what they are doing, at least there's no point fighting others.
The incident has renewed concerns over political violence as parties reposition ahead of future elections.
Well, with few months to the 2027 general elections here in Nigeria, The ugly head of political violence has once again been spotted here in Alimosho area of the state. Nigerians are asking, are we safe in our own country? And is this the right thing to happen at this time in our political history? The big question is, will the 2027 elections be violence-free? Nigerians are hoping that that will be the case. In Lagos, for News Central, Israel Ifirobo.
In the meantime, the Independent National Electoral Commission has recognized the Labour Party National Working Committee led by Nanadi Usman. Checks on the INEC website showed that the umpire has now listed Usman as the caretaker committee chairperson of the Labour Party. Other members of the NWC are Senator Darlington Mokocha, Hamishu Suntaraki, Aisha Majide, and Eric Ifere. On January 21, the Federal High Court Abuja recognized the Usman-led NWC of the Labour Party, sacking Julius Abure as the party's national chairman. Now to more politics. In Rivers State, the feud between Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his estranged political godfather Nyesom Wike shows no sign of easing. Despite mediation efforts by elder statesmen, the struggle for control of Rivers politics appears set to continue, potentially stretching into 2027 elections. News Central's Biola Festus here reports on this.
Enough is enough. We are all from Rivers State. Nobody can deny us the facilities of the state.
The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, was speaking at the inauguration of a pro-Tinubu political support group in Rivers State. In a swift response to reports of restricted access to the venue, the Rivers State government dismissed claims that it denied entry to the facility.
I have not received any application, and if anybody says I've received any application, let the person show me. Let me have the proof. Let's have the evidence that an application has been given and the application was rejected. No application has been given, no application was sent to me, no response was given, nobody was rejected from using this place, and of course, ordinarily, we will want to apply to use this kind of place. It's not possible. The place is under construction. The equipments are still here, they're still working. They're about 55% gone. And again, the kind of program you're talking about is a program that all of us are also interested in. And so if you want to use this place will not be able to contain the number of people that support Mr. President himself, from His Excellency the Governor. So that if you want to use any place, the best place for you to use is the Adokia Mesemaka Stadium, where everybody uses now. It is open for everybody. We are not the kind of ones that will stop people from using our facilities. And of course, if we stop you from using these facilities, why are we allowing you use the Polytechnic, the Elechi Amadi Polytechnic? It is government facility.
Organizers say the political group is a mobilization platform in support of President Bola Tinubu, working alongside progressive elements to promote unity, inclusiveness, and strategic coordination across governance levels. The Rivers event was largely attended by Wike's political allies, whom he described as a rainbow coalition. Notably absent from the event were the governor of Rivers State and his loyalists, despite the governor being a member of the Progressive Governors Forum, a development that has further fueled concerns over his strained relationship with the FCT minister. Meanwhile, political analysts continue to question President Bola Tinubu's silence on Rivers' political crisis, particularly as both Wike and Fubara maintain public loyalty to him.
Today you say that both of you, okay, you are in the APC. The Wike that is even fermenting the problem now is not even a member of the APC. And he will be there, like we are hearing today, the structure of the APC and everything is requisite and given to him, whereas the governor who is now an APC member will be overlooked. And then you think that there will be peace in the state. What crime has Rivers committed to be treated this way?
In a show of alignment with President Tinubu's mandate, Fubara recently defected to the APC, while FCT Minister Wike has repeatedly stated that he will remain in the PDP. As political tensions persist, One question continues to dominate discussions in Rivers State. Who is truly mobilizing support for President Tinubu? In Rivers, for News Central, Biola Festus.
Welcome back again. It's time for another conversation, and this one's going to be very interesting. Now, recently, one of the world's biggest streamers, IShowSpeed, toured several African countries, including Nigeria. Now, through his content, millions around the world saw Africa's beauty, Africa's culture, Africa's creativity, and also potential in a way many had never seen it before. But beyond the excitement and viral moments, the visit also exposed some hard truths about Nigeria, especially. Now, infrastructural gaps, that was one. And also the preparedness for global attention. That's another. So today we're asking, has this moment opened new doors for Africa? And are we truly ready to seize the opportunity it brings?
Now, that global spotlight has sparked renewed interest from Western audiences, tourism, investment, culture, and youth-driven narratives, and now converging in powerful ways. But visibility alone isn't enough. We've all known that. The big question is how Africa, and Nigeria in particular, can turn cultural moments into lasting value while addressing the shortcomings now laid bare. To help us unpack this, we're joined by Benga Ademiji, a human design system coach and social entrepreneur who works at the intersection of identity, purpose, and social impact. Also, we have Ajala Adebola, a content creator. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Benga will be joining us much later because he's joining via Zoom. But Debola, good to have you here. You're welcome.
Thank you so
A little
much.
bit about Debola. Debola is also a content creator. He does kindness videos across Lagos. You might have seen him pop up on your timeline once or twice. Where do you get the money from, the money you give to these people? Great videos, by the way.
It's mostly self-funded, but I get some support from friends and my other colleagues as well.
Okay, so it's a very interesting thing you do because you are humanity seems to be your content, showing people that you're kind, and you expose certain things that I've never seen, it's rare to see in Nigerians, how empathetic we can be, how thankful we can be. These are good qualities. But there's a big contrast between what you do and what actually makes people popular in the Nigerian sense of things when it comes to social media, when it comes to virality. Most people are, it's what creates attention is being crazy.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word, is going out of the box, is doing this and that, streaming. For instance, IShowSpeed actually gained popularity just doing that.
Yeah.
No different from what we have Fela do or some of the other viral folks here in Nigeria.
Yeah.
But upon IShowSpeed's visits to Nigeria, and if you compare it to all other African countries, there seems to be something very different. I see culture, I see people, places, faces when I look at the other African visits. But when I look at the Nigerian one, what I see is chaos, discord, and even he said it himself, a bit of greed. And I don't know what your take was on his visit to Nigeria, but let's first of all start from there. What's your take?
To be honest, I feel like he shouldn't have come to Nigeria, to Lagos in the first place. He should have gone to like probably Port Harcourt, Abuja, somewhere apart from like the crowded Lagos that we know it was to be like. Even if it's going to be in Lagos, maybe Badagry, that's somewhere that has like the slave trade, the museum, something that speaks about how this whole Lagos thing started in the first place, and the cultural part of it as well.
So you say this because it seems that there's a total lack of culture inside of the Lagos system.
Yes. Compared to other countries, they showed a lot of that. Like we went to like, is it Rwanda or there's this particular country we went to, they showed the beauty of the country. Benin Republic, just close by us here, the beauty of the country, the shoreline and every other things. But in Nigeria, just guys begging for money and they love that.
I'm being told that our second guest is joining us. Benga has joined us now via Zoom. Benga, thank you very much for joining.
Yes, how are you, Mazino?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you very much. I'm not the only one here. Inam is also here with me, and of course, you know Debola already. Debola is also here with us.
Debbie, how are you? Happy new month.
Good morning.
I feel like a woman amongst the bros. It's just how are you? And it's like, hello, madam. But it's okay. I'll let it slide today. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to ask you a question because, of course, we have been waiting for you. I think a debate has been going on around what the impact of ISWAP being in Nigeria meant and the story that it kind of told to those that were viewing. And I mean, it's quite evident that IShowSpeed, his visit, reshaped how millions across the world saw Africa. Now, beyond the viral moment, what do you think this moment truly represents for Africa's global image?
Okay, thank you very much. Because of my constituency, you know, I'm a youth mentor, I'm a youth coach, and a nation builder. Now, one key thing that it has exposed for us is how we behave around money, how we behave around fame. For me, it's an exposure that meets cultural challenges, not just structural challenges, cultural challenges. I mean, see how our youth behave as if they have never eaten in their lives. It exposed the kind of country we run, and it exposed the kind of society we live in. I tell people, any nation you get to, any country you get to, I mean, check three major things rather. Number one, how their people behave inside the airport. From immigration to custom to police to the citizens. From there, check how their drivers, how they drive, both commercial drivers and private drivers, how they drive on the street of that city or of that country. And the third thing you need to check is the design, the pattern and the layout of their houses and their homes. These three factors will tell you, will give you the summary of the shape of the mental thinking of the people you have visited.
Now, I don't want to generally, I agree with you on that, and I don't want to say it is an African problem because, of course, I think the controversy right now has been around Nigeria, and I think it has stirred a lot of controversy. From a political standpoint, what would the government play this to be? And do they even care?
Do they care is the question I was going to ask.
Do they care? Because for them it's like, well, this is a Gen Z thing and it's just virality for people of that.
Does it matter?
Yes, does it matter to them? Is it anything that they feel like this has been brought to our table and how do we remedy this situation? Does it even need to be remedied? Because I mean, Mazino, I've been here, what, 5 years? Anything for the boys has always been a thing at the airport. You know, like that was the first thing that I learned. And if it's been like that then and it's intensifying now, does the government even care to do anything about it? Are they embarrassed about it?
Okay, so let me welcome you. So when you're welcome to Lagos, have you ever seen anybody say, welcome to Lagos? No. When you go to Ibadan, you see welcome to Ibadan. When you go to Port Harcourt, you see welcome to Port Harcourt. But Lagos, you see, this is Lagos. So let me say this. Yes, our government don't care. To some extent, they care, especially in Lagos State. Lagos State is doing some fantastic jobs in some areas. But let the truth be told. Our leaders, our national parents, our state parents, our local government parents, they are more concerned about their own personal lives, their children, their houses, and their G-Wagon cars, more than anybody. But you see, having said that, my challenge is actually about us, about our youth. The way you dress is the way you will be addressed.
Right.
Do our youth, do they ever present themselves as a people that needs to be helped mentally and in the future, not just what they want to eat today? Forgetting, knowing fully well that our politicians Most of them are users. I tell people politics is not dirty. Only politicians are dirty. So our youth, I don't know what is wrong with them. We are doing our best. We are trying our best to talk to them, to change their orientation and their mindset. That if you present yourself to a politician, to a rich man, as a rag, they will use you to clean the table. But when you present yourself as somebody who have something productive upstairs, they will respect you. So the challenge is more to the side of our youth, not to the politician. Because in Yoruba they will say, when you see the leg of a madman and you don't cut it to join to your own, are you going to cut my own that I'm normal, that I'm saying? So what am I trying to say? No politician, no leader will go and bring his son from Harvard. No politician will go and bring her child from Oxford, from Yale, to come and be a political cog in Nigeria. They will always use the idle hands that has no workshop.
Okay.
Atibola, I want to bring it back to the studio because you are in a similar field with IShowSpeed. It's a double-edged sword. And I don't want us to look at it and say it is the government's fault that the youth behave like this, because at the end of the day, upbringing starts at home.
True.
So outside of, yes, if your dad is a politician and you've been in Harvard, your upbringing is a bit different. But does this now also give us a bit of an understanding of how kids in the Nigerian home are raised?
I feel like our Nigerian upbringing is like very stiff, that it trains you to like be a better person. So you by yourself will make your decision to want to be who you want to be. So
do you think there's a sense of rebellion in every Nigerian child that perhaps is what we're seeing with the new generation? Why they're bolder, why they're more daring, why they lack certain
IDCs.
You said what now?
The IDCs, I don't care.
Yeah, you know, could that be a factor?
I think so. I think so, but you still have the whole right to be whatever you want to be. So you can tell with social media age right now, you can learn social thing and use that to like be better at your skills and whatever you want to be. I mean, for instance, I am a video editor, and a lot of times I go online to learn and make my videos better, make my pictures better, and the like. So
there is that good part of social media. You can actually learn from it.
Yes.
But then there's the other side, like you said, in a double-edged sword, where you could be just everything and rascal at the same time.
Yeah.
But it seems that that's what gets the eyeballs.
Attention.
That's what gets the attention. Even advertisers even go for these out-of-the-box type of expressions when it comes to social media. So was it okay that was what was showcased in the Nigerian instance as against culture, as against tourism, and what we saw in the other countries? I mean, because if this is a Nigerian, it is a culture then. So maybe it's okay that was what was depicted on IShowSpeed's streams. I don't know. I'm just wondering. You're looking at your eyeball.
No, it was not okay.
It wasn't okay.
It was not okay. Okay.
I think so,
you know, when we were growing up, when you look at market strategies, you look at what's going on and you say, well, this is what sells, right? And that's what it is. If you are, I'm trying to PG myself, if you are selling the t-shirt that he's wearing, you know the kind of appeal, the kind of man or the kind of individual that needs to wear this because you are trying to sell. You know what I'm trying to say? So if we're looking at Nigeria as well, yes, fine, there are people that are rogue and rascal and free to experience and express themselves. But remember, at the end of the day, there's Nigeria in totality as a country. If we are saying that this was the appeal, then it gives us a mindset that says, this is actually what we were selling. If you can see there, he was in Botswana, he was in Ethiopia, he was in South Africa, and you saw that there was a sell point. It's brand strategy. Because remember, at the end of the day, and I'm sorry because I'm answering your questions, but I do not want that to be our thing that says, well, this is the generation that is free to express themselves and free to do whatever they want to do, and this is what we want to promote. Because at the end of the day, the youth is the future. So in essence, basically what we're saying is if that was our selling point as Nigeria, we've communicated a message to the world that says, this is the future of Nigeria.
Wow. Benga, I'm wondering if you have anything to add to that one there. Are we selling the wrong brand? Does the government need to step in and help us reconfigure?
I feel like crying as she's talking. I feel like crying when I'm telling you, we go around the world, we move around the world in different countries, and we see what they show to the world, even when we know that there are some level of decadence internally in those countries. But you will never see those bad parts. Can I ask you, Mazino? Can I ask you, Debola? Can I ask you, Absis? What if IshowSpeed should write a book tomorrow? If he should do a documentary to the compilation of what his experience was in Africa, what do you think would be the summary of Nigeria?
Exactly.
This is not only this is not only about a person stretching out on the road to be asking. Now in Nigeria, people now see any public figure as a mobile ATM. Guys. AJ had an accident on that highway a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Guess what happened? Few people were trying to rescue him and his friends. Many people were asking him, they were billing him. Who do us like this? But you know what? Don't let me take our time. Until our leaders, children don't do what you say. Children do what they see. Until our leaders begin to live a modest life. Because one of the root causes of this issue, of this lifestyle, is I want to be like, oh, Mazino is the CEO of whatever business, and he comes online and say, money na water. And begin to flaunt money and begin to show money.
Oh,
you know what? This conversation,
he was on a roll there.
There's so many things. There's the passion. There's it hits home because at the end of the day, we are Africans. You know, there was a proverb that said, a better Africa will come from better Africans. And if we genuinely want to have a better Africa, it means we as people as Africans, need to be better Africans. And it's quite obvious that this conversation shows us that visibility alone, digitally or whatever the likes may be, is not enough. Moments like IShowSpeed's visit gives us an understanding that we aren't after clickbait. We are after telling the African story the way that it needs to be told.
Exactly, and that's why we actually had Debola here. I think you should check out what he does on social media. It's very wholesome. Thank you very much for holding out, at least on that.
It's a Gen Z thing, and it's just virality for people of that.
Does it matter?
Yes, does it matter to them? Is it anything that they feel like this has been brought to our table, and how do we remedy this situation? Does it even need to be remedied? Because I mean, Mazino, I've been here, 5 years? Anything for the boys has always been a thing at the airport. You know, like that was the first thing that I learned. And if it's been like that then, and it's intensifying now, does the government even care to do anything about it? Are they embarrassed about it?
Okay, so let me welcome you. So when you're welcome to Lagos, there's not. Have you ever seen anybody say welcome to Lagos? No. When you go to Ibadan, you see welcome to Ibadan. When you go to Port Harcourt, you see welcome to Port Harcourt. But Lagos, you see this
is Lagos.
So let me say this. Yes, our government don't care. To some extent, they care, especially in Lagos State. Lagos State is doing some fantastic jobs in some areas. But let the truth be told. Our leaders, our national parents, our state parents, our local government parents, they are more concerned about their own personal lives, their children, their houses, and their G-Wagon cars, more than anybody. But you see, having said that, my challenge is actually about us, about our youth. The way you dress is the way you will be addressed.
Right.
Do our youth, do they ever present themselves as a people that needs to be helped mentally and in the future, not just what they want to eat today? Forgetting, knowing fully well that our politicians, Most of them are users. I tell people politics is not dirty. Only politicians are dirty. So our youth, I don't know what is wrong with them. We are doing our best. We are trying our best to talk to them, to change their orientation and their mindset. That if you present yourself to a politician, to a rich man, as a rag, they will use you to clean the table. But when you present yourself as somebody who have something productive upstairs, they will respect you. So the challenge is more to the side of our youth, not to the politician. Because in Yoruba they will say, when you see the leg of a madman and you don't cut it to join to your own, are you going to cut my own that I'm normal, that I'm saying? So what am I trying to say? No politician, no leader will go and bring his son from Harvard. No politician will go and bring her child from Oxford, from Yale, to come and be a political cog in Nigeria. They will always use the idle hands that has no workshop.
Okay.
Atibola, I want to bring it back to the studio because you are in a similar field with IShowSpeed. It's a double-edged sword. And I don't want us to look at it and say it is the government's fault that the youth behave like this, because at the end of the day, upbringing starts at home.
True.
So outside of, yes, if your dad is a politician and you've been in Harvard, your upbringing is a bit different. But does this now also give us a bit of an understanding of how kids in the Nigerian home are raised?
I feel like our Nigerian upbringing is like very stiff, that it trains you to like be a better person. So you by yourself will make your decision to want to be who you want to be. So
do you think there's a sense of rebellion in every Nigerian child that perhaps is what we're seeing with the new generation? Why they're bolder, why they're more daring, why they lack certain
IDCs.
You said what now?
The IDCs, I don't care.
Yeah, you know, could that be a factor?
I think so. I think so, but you still have the whole right to be whatever you want to be. So you can tell with social media age right now, you can learn social thing and use that to like be better at your skills and whatever you want to be. I mean, for instance, I am a video editor, and a lot of times I go online to learn and make my videos better, make my pictures better, and the like. So
there is that good part of social media. You can actually learn from it.
Yes.
But then there's the other side, like you said, in a double-edged sword, where you could be just everything and rascal at the same time.
Yeah.
But it seems that that's what gets the eyeballs.
Attention.
That's what gets the attention. Even advertisers even go for these out-of-the-box type of expressions when it comes to social media. So was it okay that was what was showcased in the Nigerian instance as against culture, as against tourism, and what we saw in the other countries? I mean, because if this is a Nigerian, it is a culture then. So maybe it's okay that was what was depicted on IShowSpeed's streams. I don't know. I'm just wondering. You're looking at your eyeball.
No, it was not okay.
It wasn't okay.
It was not okay. Okay.
I think so,
you know, when we were growing up, when you look at market strategies, you look at what's going on and you say, well, this is what sells, right? And that's what it is. If you are, I'm trying to PG myself, if you are selling the t-shirt that he's wearing, you know the kind of appeal, the kind of man or the kind of individual that needs to wear this because you are trying to sell. You know what I'm trying to say? So if we're looking at Nigeria as well, yes, fine, there are people that are rogue and rascal and free to experience and express themselves. But remember, at the end of the day, there's Nigeria in totality as a country. If we are saying that this was the appeal, then it gives us a mindset that says this is actually what we were selling. If you can see there, he was in Botswana, he was in Ethiopia, he was in South Africa, and you saw that there was a sell point. It's brand strategy. Because remember, at the end of the day, and I'm sorry because I'm answering your questions, but I do not want that to be our thing that says, well, this is the generation that is free to express themselves and free to do whatever they want to do, and this is what we want to promote. Because at the end of the day, the youth is the future. So in essence, basically what we're saying is if that was our selling point as Nigeria, we've communicated a message to the world that says, this is the future of Nigeria.
Wow. Benga, I'm wondering if you have anything to add to that one there. Are we selling the wrong brand? Does the government need to step in and help us reconfigure?
I feel like crying as she's talking. I feel like crying when I'm telling you, we go around the world, we move around the world in different countries, and we see what they show to the world, even when we know that there are some level of decadence internally in those countries. But you will never see those bad parts. Can I ask you, Mazino? Can I ask you, Debola? Can I ask you, Absis? What if IshowSpeed should write a book tomorrow? If he should do a documentary to the compilation of what his experience was in Africa, what do you think would be the summary of Nigeria?
Exactly.
This is not only this is not only about a person stretching out on the road to be asking. Now in Nigeria, people now see any public figure as a mobile ATM. Guys. AJ had an accident on that highway a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Guess what happened? Few people were trying to rescue him and his friends. Many people were asking him, they were billing him. Who do us like this? But you know what? Don't let me take our time. Until our leaders, children don't do what you say. Children do what they see. Until our leaders begin to live a modest life. Because one of the root causes of this issue, of this lifestyle, is I want to be like, oh, Mazino is the CEO of whatever business, and he comes online and say, money na water. And begin to flaunt money and begin to show money.
Oh,
you know what? This conversation,
he was on a roll there.
There's so many things. There's the passion. There's it hits home because at the end of the day, we are Africans. You know, there was a proverb that said, a better Africa will come from better Africans. And if we genuinely want to have a better Africa, it means we as people as Africans, need to be better Africans. And it's quite obvious that this conversation shows us that visibility alone, digitally or whatever the likes may be, is not enough. Moments like IShowSpeed's visit gives us an understanding that we aren't after clickbait. We are after telling the African story the way that it needs to be told.
Exactly, and that's why we actually had Debola here. I think you should check out what he does on social media. It's very wholesome. Thank you very much for holding out, at least on that one bit of kindness. And I look forward to every single piece of material that you put out there. And of course, Benga Ademujimi, thank you very much for joining us. We lost you there. Oh, there, you're back. We lost you there for a minute, but thank you very much for giving us such in-depth, critical views regarding the instance of IshowSpeed's visit. Thank you very much once again, gentlemen. And of course, we still have more conversation. Inside this hour is the second hour for Breakfast Extra, I beg your pardon, and we'll be right back.
You're back with us on Breakfast Extra, and the topics just keep on getting hotter. Now, as Nigeria gears up for the 2027 general elections, concerns are rising over the persistent gender imbalance in political representation. Recent reports show that male dominance in 13 states could severely limit the number of women in legislative positions, threatening hopes for a more inclusive National Assembly. Now, despite women making up nearly half of the population, their presence in politics remains extremely low, with just a handful of seats currently occupied by women at both federal and state level. This now raises urgent questions about not just access, but equity and participation in Nigeria's political process.
Experts have pointed to structural, cultural, and also systemic barriers that continue to sideline women from elected positions, even as 2027 polls draw closer. Now, there are ongoing campaigns for legislative reforms, such as the Special Seats or Reserved Seats Bill, which we'll talk about. It seeks to guarantee a minimum level of female representation in both federal and also state assemblies. But to help us unpack these trends, what they mean for democracy, governance, and also gender equity, Here in Nigeria, we're joined in the studio by Dr. Bumi Obakoya, humanitarian and former member of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs. Dr. Obakoya, thank you very much for joining us. You are welcome.
Good morning and happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Thank you for having
me.
me.
Happy New Month.
Happy everything. Happy New Month.
Yeah.
Happy Sunday.
Yeah.
And
happy to be alive.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
I just have to make this morning. It's my mother's birthday today.
Oh,
she's 80 today.
Oh, wow.
So I couldn't make church with them. So I'm here.
Happy birthday,
thank
Mama.
you for
Happy
such
birthday,
sacrifice.
Mommy.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Mom.
Doctor, very quickly, I know we want to go straight into the story for today, but could you give us a bit of a background of what it is that you do as a female? Because women must take up space, and this is why we are having this conversation.
For female, I do a lot. I'm a politician.
Okay.
I'm a philanthropist. Do you understand? And I have a foundation where it has to do with women and youth and the whole. And I'm a business, and I'm an entrepreneur. You know, I have chains of businesses, and I'm also a politician. Yeah.
Okay, and then let's just get right into the politics then. I want to start by asking you to give us a bit of a snapshot of where Nigeria currently stands on women in politics.
Zero.
Oh.
It's very poor. It's zero, and we're really working on women coming out.
Who's we?
We.
Who's we?
We, the women.
Okay.
Coming out in 2027. Because for me, I feel we're being cheated. And we are the one. Women come out more than men when it comes to campaigning. You can imagine House of Assembly, House of Rep, we're just 3.9%. That's the percentage is very low. So we want to encourage more women to come out in politics. Do you understand? We need to encourage a lot of women to come out in politics. Because for me, I feel we're being cheated. So that's it.
So we want to encourage more women to come out. How do you intend on encouraging them?
Training. You can train women because some are not bold. You need to be bold. You need to have that courage. Some can't face crowd. Do you understand?
No, but doctor, let me just interject. I agree with you that women need to be trained, right?
Yeah.
But hypothetically, let's take, for instance, you and I are having this conversation now when you're saying, you know what, I want to train you and I want you to be bold and come out. What separates me from being trained and then coming out with those that are already in there, that are not getting the right kind of representation?
Are there structural deficiencies that do not promote or help women get to certain levels in politics? Are they cultural? Are they systemic?
It's cultural.
Cultural?
Yeah. That's just it.
So how do we conquer culture?
Well, we just have to keep encouraging our women. They need to be encouraged. Also, finance. Yes, some feel it's all about money. For me, it's not really about money. You know, if you're doing the right thing in your community, do you understand? They can just opt for you and said, man, this is going to represent us very well in either House of Assembly, House of Rep, and then Senate seats.
Now, I want to go back to what you said about it being cultural, and if you can draw that line between the cultural challenge that we have as Nigerians and how it affects politics.
You see, a lot of us feel because we're women, what a woman can do, a man can do it better. Do you understand? They feel that women just they must end themselves in the kitchen. But these days, it's not done that way. You know, I don't need to end my career in the kitchen. You know, I have people there looking up to me and want to do a lot of things. Do you understand? So that's it.
Okay. Now, you talked about that representation being at 3.9%.
Yes, please.
Now, if you look at the population of women in politics that 50%. Are 50%.
50%.
Let's talk about the structural deficiencies inside of the system that make it impossible for that 50% to be represented adequately when it comes to political endeavors. And I mean actual positions in offices. What is wrong with the system that needs reform?
Like I said earlier.
Apart from the cultural bit. Because if bodies that you've represented have been working to try and push women out there, not just by training, what else is needed? If we know what the causes are inside of the structure, then maybe we know what kind of attendance needs to be given to the problem?
Well, I think the government needs to look into it. Because you see, in the states, like 13 states, you all have all men. Are you telling me now that there's no women in that 13 states that can even come out for even councillor to represent their community? For me, I think government needs to look into it. And with my findings, I think the First Lady, we need to give kudos to the First Lady. She's pushing so hard for women to come out and to be a leadership in governments. You know, that's what the First Lady is doing for us right now. You know, so I think our mentality in Nigeria is that women are nobody. But I can tell you for free, we are somebody. Because you see, when we are campaigning, if you see the ratio of people coming out, women are at least 85% on the people doing on the streets.
How much do women contribute monetarily when it comes to campaigns?
They contribute a lot.
More than men?
More than men.
Okay.
They're the one that will sing. They're the one that will go house to house and bring people out. They're the one that will make arrangement for feeding. They're the one that will make arrangement for the first aid. Do you understand? They do at least 75% of campaign.
Okay, I mean, I agree with that because women are more evangelical, if I could use the word. But let's talk about finance because unfortunately in Nigeria is a country where money talks. Financially,
yes,
the financial contribution of women for campaigns and all of this, what are we looking at?
Yeah, that I said it earlier. Finances. Do you understand? And
I mean, in terms of contribution.
Yeah.
Contribution to.
Yes.
Yeah. For instance, to be able to run a campaign or even to be eligible, you must have a certain, ceiling. This is how much it costs for you to even buy a ticket.
Yeah, we have women
are
that
women
are
able to purchase these tickets?
They are. They are. We have women that are capable, to buy their form. They don't even need to wait for nobody to buy their form.
Capable is different from actually buying the form. So are they allowed?
Have the finance to buy it.
Is there any history of any woman that has actually bought?
Oh, a lot. A lot that I can't mention their names. A lot. But you see, most of the time, they don't give them chance.
Okay.
Say, she's a woman. She's a lady. Let her go and sit in her husband's house. But you see, gradually now you see husband encouraging their wife to come out for something to contest. You see a lot of men now, like mine, is encouraging me. And that's why I have the luck that, okay, my husband is encouraging me to come out and say something about in the community.
Now, Doctor, we're all aware that there is a bill right now that has been presented before the National Assembly that is kind of proposing for special seats.
For women?
Yes. Now, that bill and the reform, can you enlighten us about it a bit more and give us the practical reality of that bill coming to pass and women actually having the adequate number of special seats?
I said it to you earlier. The bill is 70-30. Do you understand? And as you can see, a lot of women, and they're ready. Watch 2027. You will see 80% of women coming out. We have 30%, but you'll see 80% of women coming out.
Okay.
That's okay. I want to challenge the men right now. We want to challenge them. For me, I'm going to challenge them.
Okay.
Do you understand? So that's it.
I like the way you say we. It sounds like a congregation of women. Let's talk about women supporting women in politics.
Well,
I want to bring one instance up. Okay. Now, it seems that women often walk into these halls of power on an individual basis. One big example was the Natasha Kpotiruagan story. When she called out individuals inside of the Senate, it didn't seem like she had the kind of support that many people were thinking she was going to have. We thought that it was going to be all female, riding like the Valkyrie behind her. But we didn't see that happen. In fact, some people ejected and said, no, as in she should learn to do this, she should learn to be more respectful, she should learn. So I'm wondering whether it is also a thing inside of politics where they don't get that support from women inside of politics itself. Is that a problem, a challenge?
It's a challenge.
Why is this?
You see a leader, she's been in a position for 16 years. and you now see a woman coming out, some get jealous. Yes.
Some women?
Some women, yes. Some women get jealous of each other. And it's not the best. We should support women supporting each other. When she sees another woman rising up, yeah, she get upset. For me, I think we should support one another. By supporting each other, you see a lot of us coming out. You see a lot of coming out. You see, when you see someone that is not supporting you, and you are in the same constituency, do you understand? You can get discouraged and say, I don't think I'm going to come up for anything. Even your leader, that is a woman, you know, she's not supporting you. So you get discouraged. So we should, that's why I use we should encourage each other, you know.
So I think my question with regards to that, of course, I'm in total agreement with you on that. But now if you're looking at a situation like Mazino had just said, again, I was outrageously surprised at the fact that women that were in politics as well made some comments, and they had said she's asking for the attention or this and that. It was women that were saying things like that, not men. Now, if we are looking at a situation where, like Mazino said, if we have a platform where women are actually bold and loud about supporting other women, then one voice is, you know, many voices outweighs just one voice. And if we are trying to pass legislations like this in Senate, but we still have women that are backbiting each other, how are we trying to convince Senate that women actually deserve to be in spaces like this if we as women can't even support each other?
Yeah. Well, I said it earlier. Do you understand? We just have to keep counseling each other and praying about it and talking to these our women that we need to support one another. You know, we can organize a training, or we can organize a meeting and talk to one another that we should not allow the men to override us completely.
Across the world, in certain countries, they've been able to achieve gender parity when it comes to their parliaments. They've used certain instruments like what we talked about, the reserved seats bill that we're trying to work on, or even just a quota system. And I'm wondering whether you know of any country that has successfully been able to implement this and what it meant for that country and what Nigeria can learn from these countries.
Don't know of any country right now. Well, I think apart from any country, do you understand? You know, it's our country. It's Nigeria. We should just love one another.
Yeah.
We should just love one another. That's the most important thing. Love is very, very important. You know, if I love you, I want to make sure, do you understand, things are working for you politically.
100%.
Yes, so that's it.
I mean, Mazino, going back to your question, I think that's a very good point to piggyback on, and I think it's our responsibility to do that research, because when we do get that partnership with other countries that are for women, then it allows us to implement in Nigeria what needs to be implemented, because you do find countries. Ethiopia is one of them. South Africa is another. Tanzania. I mean, we can beg to differ on how they are leading, but you've got countries that have, you know,
they have put it is a structure.
You know, so I think it is something that we need to piggyback on and just see how, as women, we can build reforms that speak to Africa. I mean, we've got the African Union, we've got ECOWAS, we've got SADC that can put together these things. And I think from a Nigerian standpoint, as women in Nigeria, once we are ready, because right now, based on what the conversation you and I are having, we can boldly say we want to do it, but we are not ready to do it. So if we know that we're not ready, then going into Senate and saying, well, do it, even though we aren't ready for it, it becomes a bit of a contradiction. And again, and I'm speaking as a fellow woman, because we want to take up space. But up until we are ready, we cannot expect a situation where it's given to us and we're not ready to.
I think we're already 30%.
Ready 30%.
We're already 30%.
We'll take 30%. We'll take 30%.
We should be ready 60%.
I agree.
I need that 30%.
I agree.
For us.
I definitely agree. I definitely agree.
Yeah, indeed. Doctor, thank you very much for joining us for this conversation. We do hope that we begin to see, especially come after 2027, like you said, more female representation in politics. Hey, I'm all for men supporting women, and I hope that you guys can get your acts together.
Are you supporting women?
Yeah, well, yes,
I mean, he is a man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will you encourage your wife to
as much
be
as
part of what?
as much as I can, and every other woman out there, you're not too woman to lead. No, you are just woman enough to lead. I think that should be it. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
I think we just came up with a slogan there.
Actually, in South Africa, they say "Watinta bafazi, watinti mbogoto," which means if you strike a woman, you strike a rock.
Say it again.
Watinta bafazi, watinti mbogoto.
Are you South African?
I am.
Oh, you Wena.
Yes, Wena.
You
So
Wena.
as we're deliberating on the Wena and the Mbogoto, let's go on a quick break. But when we return, more for you on Breakfast Extra.
Welcome once again. My name is Mazino Appeal for News Central Television. Inside of Breakfast Extra, our second bulletin. President Bola Tinubu has returned to Abuja from Ankara, the capital of the Republic of Turkey, following a state visit aimed to strengthen diplomatic relations between both countries. The president arrived in Abuja at about 8:55 p.m. on Saturday, bringing to a close engagements focused on deepening Nigeria-Turkey ties and expanding areas of mutual cooperation. During the visit, 9 agreements and memoranda of understanding were signed, covering economic, security, and social sectors. The agreements are part of broader efforts to boost bilateral trade toward a $5 billion target and reinforce collaboration across multiple sectors between Nigeria and Turkey. Now, away from that, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has appealed to aggrieved workers of the administration to embrace peace and dialogue as they express their grievances with the administration. Wike made this appeal during the official distribution of 12 new ambulances to hospitals across the territory, saying that workers who resolve to disobey the ruling of the Industrial Court over the impasse between the Joint Union Action Committee and the FCTA administration will be held in contempt of court. Earlier, the Mandate Secretary for Health and Environment Service, Dr. Ade Dolakbo Fashawe, commended the minister for prioritizing the welfare of healthcare professionals within the capital and clearing a backlog of allowances owed to them dating back to 2021.
It is heartwarming that this administration has paid allowances that have been due, some even since 2021. I wish to particularly refer to the 13th month hazard allowance for healthcare workers and wage award, the medical residency training fund. I can confidently say that FCT is the only state that has paid all these allowances up to date. For this, we say thank you, sir.
I have said, litigation is not the best, but to have no choice after we have pleaded and pleaded and pleaded and pleaded. Just like what the Banki Secretary said. When things have been done, come out and tell people the simple truth. Forget this thing, you go and block the gates. Say you will not obey court order. Let me advise you. It depends on whom you are dealing with. It depends. By the time we go for contempt of those who are blocking or those who wrote later that they will not obey the court order, then you will see the difference. So I appeal to all of you to have a reconsideration and allow peace to reign.
The Independent National Electoral Commission has recognized the Labour Party National Working Committee led by Nenadi Usman. Checks on the INEC website showed that the umpire has now listed Usman as the caretaker committee chairperson of the Labour Party. Other members of the NWC are Senator Darlington Wokocha, Hamishu Santuraki, Aisha Madije, and Eric Ifere. On January 21, the Federal High Court Abuja recognized the Usman-led NWC of the Labour Party, sacking Julius Abure as the party's national chairman. And families of 16 military officers detained for allegedly plotting to overthrow President Bola Tinubu are seeking clemency. Relatives are reaching out to top government and political leaders, urging intervention to ensure the officers are treated with leniency. The accused, whose ranks range from captain to brigadier general, have been held since October 2025. According to retired military officials, the officers are now awaiting court-martial after the military high court confirmed their guilt in the attempted coup. The arrest carried out by the Defense Intelligence Agency drew widespread attention and raised concerns about stability within the armed forces. Families continue to call for measured justice, emphasizing the human impact of the ongoing legal and disciplinary proceedings. In more news, the military junta in Guinea-Bissau has eased some restrictions on opposition politicians. A senior opposition leader who has been on the run is no longer being sought for arrest. However, another prominent opposition figure, recently released from prison on Friday, has now been placed under house arrest. The junta imprisoned several senior politicians after overthrowing President Umaru Sissoco Embalo on November 26, just days after the presidential election and before the official results were announced. And that's all this hour for our second bulletin inside of Breakfast Extra. Do stay tuned. We've got more conversation coming your way. You're welcome once again. It is time for Focus Africa for a Sunday installment here on Breakfast Extra. And today we're talking South Africa. Well, South Africa has taken the rare step of expelling Israel's top diplomat, deepening an already tense diplomatic row between the two countries. The South African government declared Israel's charge d'affaires, Ariel Seidman, persona non grata and ordered him to leave the country within 72 hours. Pretoria says the move follows repeated violations of diplomatic norms, including offensive social media posts targeting President Cyril Ramaphosa and a failure to observe basic diplomatic protocol. Hours later, Israel responded by expelling a senior South African diplomat in a tit-for-tat retaliation, highlighting how strained relations have become and many say petty.
Now, the incident comes against the backdrop of growing geopolitical tensions over the Israel-Palestine conflict, including South Africa's lawsuit accusing Israel of genocide at the International Court of Justice, a charge Israel strongly denies. Now, the diplomatic expulsions have drawn reactions both at home and abroad, with the implications of bilateral ties and broader regional alliances. To help us unpack the significance of this specific development, we are joined in the studio, not in the studio, but virtually, by Dr. Kingsley Makubela. He joins us from a town called Hartbeespoort, just outside of South Africa, outside of Pretoria. He is a veteran diplomat and a foreign policy expert. Dr. Makubela, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Inam, and thank you, Mazino, for the invitation.
Thank you. You're welcome. It's good I have Inam here because that would have been a tough name to pronounce. But Inam, thank you.
Dr. Makubela, let's just jump right into it. Can you help us understand exactly what it means for a diplomat to be declared persona non grata and why South Africa chose this step now?
You know, for any state to invoke Article 9 of the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations and Immunities, it's a very rare occurrence, but it happens when there's been very serious violation of the diplomatic etiquette, or if a diplomat has gone hayway, that's when you invoke that. It's not easily invoked. In this instance, we're still battling to find out the details, particularly with respect to insulting the president, which is what is contained in the statement by the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. Not only insulting the president once, if you read the statement, and Mazino was quite correct to say, it says repeated. So we need to see that evidence. With respect to the Israeli embassy here allowing senior Israeli government officials to come here without informing DERCO, there's nothing in violation of the Vienna Convention in terms of that. And I think South Africa confuses Article 10 of the Vienna Convention that speaks specifically to accredited diplomats. This will be instances where accredited diplomats are at the end of their 12th duty, they are replaced, you need to inform the host country. So I think they're confusing that. There's no violation. You get diplomats who go to inspect their mission, to look into the systems and processes, to go and do audit and so on. They go very often. South Africa does the same. There's no requirement to inform the host country if you're not an accredited diplomat. As long as you have necessary documents to be in the country, you're allowed to go and do that and interface with the host country. That's where the big problem is. The other thing we've seen in the last few days, the Israeli embassy engaged with a traditional leader in the Eastern Cape.
Oh.
And they are saying the national government was not informed. But I haven't had any comment from DECO with respect to that incident. The comments came from the provincial governments. Now, in terms of Article 41 of the Vienna Convention, when a diplomat gets engaged with any organs of the state, they have to do that through the foreign ministry, unless so agreed with the foreign ministry. In this case, the person who's been talking about this as a violation of diplomatic etiquette, it's a leader of the province. But in terms of the foreign policy in South Africa, the function of foreign policy is not concurrent. It's the sole responsibility of the national government. So even that premier, in my own view, he's out of step. It's not in his step. He should have communicated this with the national government. That's in total what's going on with this saga that involved the expulsion of the Israeli diplomat.
Doctor, thank you very much for putting it in a bow for us. That actually summarizes everything. But there's also, you also mentioned this as well, violation of diplomatic norms, and something that had to do with certain posts by an envoy. I'm wondering how a post by an envoy crosses into violations of diplomatic norms. If you can help us define that trigger that's led us here with both countries expelling diplomats.
You know, let me start with the expulsion of the South African diplomat who is accredited to the state of Palestine. It's because the Israelis are the occupying power. They have the authority, they control everything, even people who are accredited to the state of Palestine. We've seen the expulsion of the Norwegian diplomats in the past. The Turkish diplomats were expelled by Israelis. So the Israelis, in a way, is a de facto authority there. So the Palestinians, they don't exercise any authority over these issues. So that's one that is being misinterpreted around as a tit for tat. It's not a tit for tat, it's a retribution by Israel that if you are able to expel our diplomat, we will see what powers we would use in areas that we control. That's one. But you know, with respect to the Israeli diplomat here and his behavior, let me tell you, in the best of time, even to invoke Article 9 of the Vienna Convention, in the best of time, you only invoke this article after having followed certain procedures. One of the procedures, if for instance there's a recalcitrant diplomat who is behaving outside the norms, the receiving state would inform the sending state to say your diplomat X is misbehaving and is likely to cause serious embarrassment and tarnish the good relations that exist between our two countries. We therefore request you to recall this diplomat. They would quietly recall a diplomat. But when there are tensions, you see countries that are quick to invoke Article 9 of the Vienna Convention. And in this case, South Africa still needs to prove a case. I'm not where I'm, where I'm sitting. I haven't seen evidence that really speaks about the repeated insult. You don't even start expelling a person unless the insults are so severe that they tarnish the reputation, in this case, and the standing of the head of state. That's when you'd invoke Article 9.
Now, Doctor, South Africa, of course, you mentioned the social media post as well. South Africa has cited that social media post targeting President Cyril Ramaphosa as one of these causes. Now, one would like to debate and perhaps say that these are platforms of public opinion and freedom of speech. But how do actions on social media platforms intersect with diplomatic norms as well as protocol?
You know, if you look in history, diplomacy has been driven by two fundamental issues, transport and communication. Now, the social media has become a vehicle of communication. South African government uses social media even to communicate very serious state issues. The United States, I think it's far advanced in terms of using the social media to even communicate policy issues. So it is accepted. Social media has become acceptable communication. And now, if the Israelis have insulted, we must distinguish here between insulting and criticizing the South African foreign policy stance on any other issue. That is allowed. That's part of this continuous negotiation that you have in diplomacy, that you have a critique of your host country's policy, but you do that within respect. So the communication, there's nothing wrong, unless so proven that this was fake news and it was not attributed to any government officials, which it happens very often. You know, we are, and I'm talking about commentators and all academics around the world, we're facing a huge challenge to distinguish between a fake news and authentic communication. And you need to go through a lot of verification to really check if this is indeed true before you can even say anything. But in this instance, it is acceptable. That was the communication from the Israelis. But they haven't. That's what South Africa is. Remember, the onus is on South Africa to prove that this is what the diplomat said. But in terms of Article 9 of the Vienna Convention, you can decide to declare a diplomat a persona non grata. You don't have to give reasons. But South Africa in this case has given reasons. Once you've given reasons, your reasons must be able to stand the test of time. And all of us, we were very critical in looking into the reason. Forget the differences that South Africa has with the Israelis. But for this purpose, if South Africa says these are the trigger for the invoking of Article 9, of course we need to see the details about that.
Doctor, of course, the tensions here are over Israel's actions in Gaza and the South African ICJ case in court. However, with these expulsions, does this mark a point of no return when it comes to bilateral relations between both countries?
Mazino, quite honestly, the relations between the two countries are strained. There's tension. That's why I'm saying the Israeli diplomat should have been cognizant of the tension that exists between the two countries and be able to nuance his communication, knowing that if he does anything, it may invoke the wrath of the receiving state. Now, because of this tension, of course, there was a senior Israeli government official who was here, who actually said the relations between the two countries will only be salvaged if South Africa withdraws the case at the ICJ. South Africa is unlikely to do that. The ICJ case, the horse has bolted. There are other countries that are on board. It's something that is unlikely to happen. So they should forget about that and try to see how to salvage whatever exists of the relations between the two countries. Last year, you may have seen debate in Parliament, which was a talking debate. It has no legal effect in terms of lawmakers saying South Africa should sever diplomatic relation completely with Israel. I don't agree with that. My view is that diplomacy as a statecraft is a battlefield that you have to master. That even during wartime, you have to use instruments of diplomacy and to really sever diplomatic relations between the two countries. I thought it was short-sighted, and I still think it's short-sighted.
Okay.
But the pressure would build up now within lawmakers. Now, the government is divided, as you know. You have the coalition partners in government. Some of them have started to really attack their own partners for the expulsion of the diplomat. Maybe they do have details. We are waiting for details. And South Africa must come clean in terms of providing details. It's South Africa that said this guy did the following thing. They must give us that evidence and repeat it. It can't be a once-off thing. Repeated the insult. They must be able to prove that.
Okay. So with these diplomatic retaliations or tit for tat, I'm wondering what the risks for escalations are between both countries and what the escalation would look like.
You know, I think the escalation ladder now, it has reached a plateau. What is required, usually with this kind of tension, you find intelligence services that are reaching out to each other to try to de-escalate. I don't know if the South African intelligence services is talking to Mossad to try to see how to de-escalate, but it all depends if both countries have intention to de-escalate. I don't think there's any intention to de-escalate. I've seen statements attributed to Prime Minister Netanyahu in the past that South Africa would regret having taken Israel to the ICJ. So it definitely tells you the level of tension between the two countries. But I don't know if there's any intention really to try to de-escalate. But it's playing itself also in the context of the tension that exists between South Africa and the United States. because I tend to think the state of Israel, it's a client state to the United States. It's entirely dependent on the United States. So I'm yet to see how the United States is going to react on this. There's a vote now with respect to the extension of AGOA that it's likely to take place during the course of this coming week. Because the Senate has already looked into that. And South Africa apparently is included in this. But if it passes the House, you are likely to see the president who would veto and would want changes. And South Africa's name is going to be removed. I don't think the current administration is quite keen to be seen to keep on supporting South Africa. I saw a statement this morning that is attributed also to President Trump that they must stop funding countries that are acting against the United States interests. And they are stating a number of issues. So South Africa would be among the countries that are seen to be acting against the U.S. interests because of its association with China, Russia, and other countries.
Now, Dr. Makubela, speaking on what you've just said now about the United States, some critics do argue that this incident could impact South Africa's global relationships. And of course, this also does include the United States. We've also seen South Africa pulling away from the G20 during, the United States tenure. But when we look at it from Western partners as well, how credible are these concerns?
There are political realignment that is taking place. South Africa did not pull out of the G20. South Africa has been prevented from participating within the G20. But there's also tension around the cross-Atlantic alliance, the United States and the European, that is really causing serious problem. And my view has been, and I've said this quite openly here in South Africa, that the South African government seems to align itself with the European in their feud with the United States, which sometimes I think it's a family feud that will be resolved at one stage. And I can tell you about a lot of examples. Take, for instance, the military exercises that finished about a week ago here between South Africa, India, China, and Iran. There's been pressure that the Iranians should not participate. And the president has instituted a commission now to try to investigate why his orders to the military were not adhered to. At the same time, when there was pressure to get the Iranians out, the Europeans were up in arms in Davos to prevent Foreign Minister of Iran, Abbas Aranchi, from participating at the World Economic Forum, and they succeeded in doing that there. But here, the exercise went on. So there are geostrategic realignment of forces that is taking place around the world that is causing serious fragmentation. People are talking about the new a multipolar world. There's a problem of defining the sources of new power in this multipolar world. And I think one guy who really captured this discussion at WEF was Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, when he spoke about the middle powers and how the middle powers should stand up, because if they are not on the table, they will be on the menu, meaning that they will be taken for a ride. So there are a lot of countries that are middle powers. South Africa is part of the countries that are middle power. Nigeria, part of the middle powers around the world. But depending on how you define this middle power, the middle power is correctly defined by a 16th century Italian academics, Giovanni Montero, who really looked into the great power, the middle power, and the small power. Again, if you look at the criticism around this geopolitical realignment of forces, I mean, Zelensky said something that was so fundamental at WEF, that Europe, it's a kaleidoscope of middle power and small powers that are actually struggling to try to influence the United States, and the United States has no interest. You are seeing this realignment of forces taking place around the world. So you're going to see a lot of fragmentation around foreign policy issues that will be much broader than this. You've seen that recently in Nigeria when the Americans decided to go and attack a state looking for terrorists, and there's no evidence up to today they were terrorists, and they used 12 Tomahawk missiles. One Tomahawk missile cost more than close to, I think, 1.5 or 1.6 million dollars to hit what? To hit normal areas. So you're going to find this fragmentation persisting unabated.
Doctor, Very interesting input there, especially the part about the middle powers. And of course, Carney's speech was fantastic. It did call to action certain African countries like South Africa and Nigeria that you have just mentioned. And I think South Africa and Nigeria are that kid on the playground now that's with a clipboard and pen taking names of friends they should have. But finally, on this episode, Doctor, let's talk about the role of diplomacy in an era where social media and also public opinion play a very big role when it comes to international relations. What lessons can we learn from this situation, this South Africa-Israel situation?
Mazino, thank you very much. Just on the Nigeria-South Africa, you know, we've had what I used to call a global period of stability in the continent. When OBJ was in Nigeria and Thabo Mbeki were here, they were able to coordinate issues. You could see strategic leadership with Meles in Ethiopia. But really, we don't have that leadership. The leadership in the continent has left us. It's gone. And there's a fantasy here in South Africa to still rely on the left. And the politics of the left around the world, it's gone, it's finished. So the left has left us. We are on our own. But coming back to the social media platform, lessons that can be learned. Social media is here with us. It has become a new rule. If you look at even the televisions, you know, you find all the podcasts and so on. Social media has become the norm for communication, and diplomats must adapt to it and utilize it effectively. What is required is to develop strong instrument for verification of fake news, because we're living with deep fake and fake news. Anyone can clone your social media. So what is required is to ensure that social media is resilient and is authentic, and it will remain an instrument of communication. We use it, all of us. You use it in the media, definitely, to verify certain things, but it's flooded with fake news and deep fake that ought to be managed. There's a debate around managing the artificial intelligence, how it can clone certain things. It raises serious challenges.
Dr. Makubela, I want to say thank you very much. I'm glad to have met you. You have a very crystal way of thinking, and I find that very, very interesting. Inam?
Thank you so much, Doctor. Now, the exclusion of envoys by both South Africa and Israel marks a dramatic moment in international diplomacy, highlighting how geopolitical tensions, legal battles, and modern communications are redefining how states engage with each other. As global attention remains focused on this dispute, the world will be watching to see whether cooler heads prevail and whether diplomatic channels can be restored to avoid further escalation. Let's take a quick break, but when we return, right here, more on Breakfast Extra. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Our final segment for a Sunday installation here for Breakfast Extra, Mazino and Inam Maso. Our next story has sparked widespread reaction across the country. A Nigerian content creator, Iyo Adokie, has spoken out following an alleged assault by Nigerian or police officers, an incident that has since triggered an official investigation and also renewed public debate around police conduct in Nigeria. The case has once again raised concerns about the profiling of young Nigerians. Reports of unwarranted intrusion into homes and hotels, and also persistent allegations of harassment and extortion by police and other security agencies.
Now, Iyo, who is a content creator and an actor, shared his experience publicly, drawing national attention to the encounter and regenerating or reinciting conversations around accountability, citizens' rights, and policing standards. Now, to help us understand what happened and explore the bigger picture, we're joined virtually by Iyo himself, who will speak firsthand about his ordeal. Also joining the conversation is Bosinde Araipe, a security expert who will help strike a balance, breaking down what citizens should know, how to respond to situations like these, and the right questions to ask when engaging law enforcement. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us, Mr. Bosinde, and of course, Iyo, thank you. Iyo, let's start with you. You were on social media and you gave us an experience that happened to you just at the end of last week, which since you have reported to the police. But if you take us through what happened exactly again, how your car got stopped by a vehicle and how you got apprehended by men you believe were members of the Nigerian police force. Iyo.
I'm sorry, I lost you for a few seconds there because of my service.
It's okay. Iyo, I was just asking you to retell your tale. What happened to you with these people who ambushed you?
Oh, all right. So this was like 3 days ago. It was around 6, 7 a.m. in the morning. I was headed to the gym, so I was just on my phone, and these guys pulled they were in a minibus. I forgot to call it minibus, maybe black. Could have been black, I think. So they just asked my boat driver to like check the back of his car or something, because they were asking him to stop. They were hinting him to stop, to slow down. So when he did, they came down and tried to get me, and they asked me to come out of the car, and I was like, okay, I just came out. And then they were like, I should get into the bus. And knowing, I've heard stories of how people got into their bus and were extorted and all that. So I was like, just search me and let me go. I don't have anything that's illegal on me. Before I could say anything, they started hitting me and hit me with a gun and threw me into the bus and started driving. They said they were taking me to Bayelsa, to their station in Bayelsa. So I was like, okay, sure, just take me to the station then, because I'm not going to explain anything to you, because I didn't do anything wrong. Before I'll talk, they were hitting me, they kept on hitting me, and then that's how they extorted me and just left me there.
Would you tell us how much was extorted from you, if you don't mind?
Okay, in total it was about 750. But they asked for 6 million.
They asked for 6 million.
Yeah.
Now, Io, we're unable to show your visuals. We'd like you to centralize on your visuals so that we'll be able to show your visuals. Thank you very much. We do have you on visuals. Make sure it's on landscape. If you can put your phone at 90 degrees, not landscape, and we'll get back to your visuals. But Io, now, how did you identify these individuals as members of the Nigerian police? That's very, very important in this story here, because you claim that they're Nigerian police and you've reported this to the police station. But let me first ask Mr. Bosinde a question regarding identification and what people must do in these kinds of instances. Mr. Bosinde, you are a security expert, and of course in this part of the country, you have been known to be a consultant when it comes to security. I was wondering, you've heard Io's story. Is this something that happens a lot in this part of the country, the Port Harcourt area?
Well, basically with regards to police brutality, extortion, harassment, it's something that happens all over the world. It's not an isolated case, no. Police brutality is in the United States, it's in India, it's in Pakistan, it's in the Middle East, it's everywhere. It's just that the nature of the brutality in certain environments is different. In some part of the world, it may be characterized by racism, you understand me, for a particular race, while in some part of the world, it may be characterized pure extortion, which is the case most persons have complained about in Nigeria. Now, in Nigeria, practically, there has been a lot of concern about young people being profiled by security agencies, not just the police. However, the police is the lead internal security agency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and as such, their participation in internal security is higher than any other security agency or the military in the country. So they interact more with the citizens, and by so doing, a lot of challenges comes up, most of which the people have complained regarding this issue of extortion and intimidation. Nobody will deny the fact that these things don't happen both in Lagos, in Abuja, in Port Harcourt, and in so many states. But my concern is not whether this happens in Port Harcourt. Of course, it happens in Port Harcourt, it happens in Lagos, it happens in Delta. Currently in Delta, I'm about going to Delta, there is an ongoing situation too there. It happens in Bayelsa. Someone recently, it happens nationwide. So I will advise that maybe we look at how to curb it. I will give advices on how to curb it nationwide when I'm asked. But for the purpose of does it happen in Port Harcourt, I want you to know that it's a national occurrence with regard to police harassment nationally. It's not an isolated city case or it's an isolated case. No, it's a national occurrence. Okay. And we should look at it at that level so that we can provide concerns that can be utilized in different parts of the country. Thank you.
Bosinde, I'd like to come back to Io. I'm not sure if you can hear me. But going back to Mazino's question, how were you able to identify and confirm that the men that pulled you over and, of course, extorted you, as you have said, were indeed police officers?
All right. First of all, they were dressed in police uniform, like full police uniform with the vest and everything. Because I was checking, they had like the police badge, like by the side of their hands, and yeah, they said they were police officers as well. But yeah, they were fully dressed in police uniform, basically.
And then you were driving through. Was this a checkpoint where other vehicles stopped before you?
Oh no, it wasn't a checkpoint. I was on an expressway. Like I was just on the road. It was not a checkpoint.
Okay,
just cornered me on the road.
Can you just give us a bit of clarity? I'm so sorry to just interject. As you were stopped on the highway, when you were driving, of course, maybe perhaps peripheral vision or whatever the case may be, were there any indications that other vehicles might have been stopped before you?
Oh, okay. So it kind of looked like I was followed because there was no vehicle stopped before me. I was on high speed. Then they just cornered me because there was no way you can even stop a vehicle on that, like moving on the expressway. It's the Aba Expressway. If you're in Paracord, you will know Aba Expressway. Yeah. You can't stop a vehicle at Aba Expressway like that.
Now, where did they take you to? And where did this extortion happen? And to what accounts did the monies, was it transferred?
Okay, they took me somewhere, like they were headed to Bayelsa. So, but I don't know the exact place because like I said, the windows of the car was not, like it was sealed, so I can't see outside. I was only seeing the front through the wheel screen. So they said they were taking me to Bayelsa, but yeah, they left Port Harcourt, like they were headed towards Bayelsa. So yeah, and the extortion happened in a very isolated place. There was like just a POS lady there, and then one or two people that were like selling stuff, one or two commercial people there that were selling minor stuff. So they just called the POS girl, and I sent the money to a POS person.
Wow. Okay, this is very interesting, but you have reported this to the police in your area, and I'm wondering what they have said. Did they corroborate your story? Did they say that these were members of the police? Did they say that they're starting an investigation?
Oh yes, from what they said, they know, they've heard it before. It's not news, and they were kind of like whispering among themselves, like, okay, they like I guess suspecting somewhere. So yeah, I think they kind of confirmed that they were policemen. So yeah.
And then in terms of the...
And they said...
Go ahead.
So yeah, they said they were working on it because they've had cases like this before. So they're trying to capture to apprehend the people involved. And I got a call from CP that night, and he was like, I might need to come back to the station to identify some people if I can, but I don't think I can do that.
Oh, why can't you do this? Is this any traumatic response to the experience?
Oh yes, I don't want to see a policeman anymore. Like for now, I don't think I can see a policeman yet.
I mean, we aren't in a space to advise, but yeah, let me park that. I think my next question to you is, at what point did it now get to the exchange of financial payments? Was there a fine that they said you needed to pay? How did it get to a point where finances were leaving your account and being transferred to a POS operating system?
There was no reason for them to extort me. They had nothing on me. I was not with drugs. I wasn't. I'm not into fraud. There was nothing. That was the first thing that they said. Like when they got a hold of my phone and they opened my accounts, that was the first thing they said. So they're like, oh, you have this kind of money. What are you doing? You have this kind of money. You're obviously a fraudster. I'm like, I'm not a fraudster and all that. So that's when they now said that for me to get out of this stuff. By the way, they took my name, my phone number, and I think my address in a piece of paper. I don't know why they did that. So yeah, they said I was going to transfer 6 million to them if I was going to go, and that I can make a call. It was just like a kidnap, because why would they ask me to make calls to just ask for the money and they're going to monitor it? And they were actually on my phone, because like everything I was doing on my phone, they were looking directly into my phone, because like I needed my Face ID to unlock some of my apps on my phone. So yeah. There was no reason for him to extort me.
That's a harrowing experience you must have been through there. Mr. Bosinde, let me come back to you. You've heard the story that he's told. Now, there are two questions I have. What one must do if they find themselves inside of this instance? And then the other one is, why is it that it seems the Nigerian police seems to always be roped into these kinds of instances when it comes to extortion? Is there anything the Nigerian police can do to remove these images from their dossier? Mr. Bosinde.
So I don't really necessarily need to be on video, right?
No, you don't. We have your audio.
Okay, good. All right, very good. Okay, well, basically, what I will advise is very, very simple. For me, I think I'm aware of this EO's matter because there is one Emmanuel that called me asking me to assist somebody. I think from the story he's given, I think it's the same issue. I think it's the same issue that they were talking to me about, that they needed me to assist somebody. Well, first of all, if I will advise generally the public on such situation, let me first of all tell you the costs. If you do not know the cost of a thing, it will be very difficult for you to solve it or to be able to avoid it or manage it. The first thing you must do is to know the cost of a thing. And the cost of this particular incident is this. Number one, there are very corrupt police officers. They've been arrested severally, and River State Police Command has arrested a couple of them severally. Number one major intelligence that from my discussions with people while trying to understand why this things happen is that we have realized that e-hailing services work with them. They have links to informers who are e-hailing services. I don't want to mention direct company names, but we all know the predominant e-hailing services in the country. These drivers connive most times with this person, and give them information when they pick up young boys that match their own description and what passes for their profiling for them to extort. And then they move towards these people and they apprehend them like that. You understand me? So I want him to know, and I want Nigerians to know, that e-hailing services are part of this problem. They help these criminals identify them. Secondly, when you are stopped by the police like that, maybe in an e-hailing service or in your own vehicle, and you have nothing, and you sense that these people are about to take you into their own vehicle and probably extort you, let me tell you the truth. Nigerians are scared, and that's why they keep going through this problem. Number one thing you have to do is, if there are people like that environment, raise alarm. Don't look at them because they are policemen. Raise alarm. Shout, they want to extort me. Shout it loud. I'm telling you what will save you. If you had done that, out of 10 vehicles, 2 will stop and ask questions, and these people would have left you. Because one, they know that if they are caught, their job is at stake. And definitely they will lose their job and probably go to prison because they will be prosecuted. That's the truth I'm telling you. Raise alarm. Serious alarm. Don't joke with it. Your life is at stake. Raise alarm. When you raise the alarm, stay on your alarm, and you will be shocked what response you receive from Nigerians. They will stop and they will ask them what is going on. And all of a sudden, the closest police division in that environment will get a wind of what is going on. And they will come and ask them, why are you pulling this man? I'm telling you what will happen. It has happened in Olu-Obasanjo. That was how a lot of them was arrested. A lot of them was arrested. They had a young boy too, heading towards the Bayelsa area too. Alarm was raised, and the police got a wind of it and blocked the road and arrested them. So that is it. Young people should learn how to raise alarm. That is true. 3, let me tell you something. The major issue why we experience things like this in Nigeria is because we have refused to accept the fact that they are our police. And so long as we keep refusing to accept the fact that they are our police, it will keep being an advantage for them. Let me tell you something. If this person is your brother, you know he's your brother, no matter how bad he is. You know that when you are involved, there is this level of way you can get your brother to reason, at least, and he cannot do anything. But when outsiders involved, he can do a lot. You know, and why are you really able to go to your brother irrespective of their bad character? It's because you consider them your brother. We must learn to see the police as our friends now, and we must by force accept this friendship. Why are we accepting this friendship? Not because they behave well, but because whether we accept the friendship or not, they are in a position where they carry arms. They are also in a position where they do a lot of things that can affect you. And it is very funny that even the government are not eager to manage this situation. So the ball is left for me and you to handle. And we handle this by entering into them. Like me, I'm a security relations consultant.
All right, then.
I don't have a connection that brought me here. But we entered into what they do. We were inquisitive. We wanted to know more. We participated. We became part of them.
Mr.
And at
Bosinde.
that point, we were able to assist a lot of people too.
Yes, Mr. Bosinde.
People must learn. Then lastly, tell your friend to go as the police have called him to identify these people. Forget about the address they took, blah, blah, blah. Those things are meant to scare him up. I'm telling you what I know from experience. Go there. If they are the ones, identify them without fear or favor. Everybody has fear. Nobody has monopoly of violence. Because we keep getting scared. And that's why these things keep happening. That's why it keeps happening. Because we keep...
Yeah, Mr. Bosinde, we are really trying to keep the time here because we are at the end of the show. But Io, I heard you there from before. I was wondering if you wanted to say your last bit there so that we can put a cap on this conversation. Io.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I wanted to respond to something that Mr. Bosinde said. Mr. Bosinde, you said you've spoken very well. So the first thing that I did was to raise alarm. And I'm not, like, if for those that know me online, I'm a very dramatic person. So I was very particular about raising alarm. But the moment I just tried to raise alarm, they hit me with a gun on my head.
Wow.
At the back of my head, and they threw me in the box. So I tried to raise alarm, but they didn't even let me speak.
Will you be going back to the police after that advice?
So yeah, that was.
Will you be going back to the police?
I would be going back to the police. I would because I also want to see these people brought to book. So
we beg that you do take Mr. Bosinde's advice, and I think that will put a wrap on everything here. Even if they are not found, at least you would have put a record on the situation. Io, I want to say thank you, and we hope that these people are brought to book. Sorry about the amounts that were lost. Hopefully you recover that as well. But thank you for joining us here to tell the story again on Breakfast Extra. And Mr. Bosinde thank you very much as well for joining us on the conversation and the tips that you've given when it comes to these security issues. We'll round that up now, but before we go, we're taking our Weekend Warrior for today.
Yes, and this weekend, our Weekend Warrior is a man whose voice still echoes long after his passing, Fela Kuti. Mazina will give me that middle name. Fela was more than a musician. He was a movement, a fearless artist who used sound as renaissance, rhythm and protest. Of course, his rhythm was counted as protest, and music as truth. At a time when silence was safer, Fela chose to speak boldly, loudly, and unapologetically. Born in 1938, Fela pioneered Afrobeats, blending jazz, high life, and funk, and of course traditional African rhythms into a sound that carried powerful messages. His music challenged corruption, military rule, oppression, and injustice, not just in Nigeria, but across Africa and beyond. Fela dreamed of an Africa that was free, proud, and accountable. Though his lyrics, his lifestyle, and activism, through his lyrics, lifestyle, and activism, he pushed Africans to question power, demand dignity, and embrace their identity.
Now, the dream did not die with him. Today, his legacy lives on in the generations of artists he's inspired, in global music culture, and in the continued fight for social justice. His influence can be heard in music, seen in activism, and also felt wherever Africans raised their voices against injustice. In recognition of his enduring impact, Fela Anikulapo-Kuti has become the first African to receive a posthumous Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, a global acknowledgement that his work was not only timeless but transformative. Now, this honor goes beyond music. It recognizes courage, cultural pride, and a legacy that refuses to be silenced. And for every young African watching, Fela's story leaves us with a powerful reminder. Your voice matters, your art matters, your courage matters. You don't have to be perfect, but you must be, well, bold. Today we say thank you very much, Fela Anikulapo-Kuti, for putting Nigeria on the map, not only for music, but also activism. And of course, you deserve our weekend warrior position for the weekend. And of course, Inam, we must say goodbye. Time is overspent, but thank you very much for making it a jolly weekend and joining us here on Breakfast Extra. We're looking forward to next weekend.
Definitely.
It's going to be an eclair. I don't know what I'm going to meet for next weekend, but
it's like a fortune cookie. Once you open it, that's when you know.
It's like a box of chocolate. All right then, let's go. Join us again next weekend for a Saturday and Sunday installment Breakfast Extra. It's bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.